Chapter 186. Everyone attacked together. With a flash of Xia Xiaochan, the red lobster was hid against the rock wall. Xia Xiaochan said, "It's very hot. Let's beat it first and then sign the contract." Half an hour later, the red fire lobster finally compromised. The contract process was very fast. Xia Xiaochan said, "Red fire tricky lobster, what a strange name." Xia Xiaochan wanted to try the ability of the red fire tricky lobster, but Han Fei ran to the innermost part of the cave, picked up a knife, and slashed crazily. Luo Xiaobai asked, "Han Fei, what's wrong?" Xia Xiaochan was surprised. "What's wrong with you?" Han Fei pointed to the rock wall and said, "This place is strange. According to my experience in the sea, there's something here." Everyone rolled their eyes. "You've been in the sea for so many years? You're just bragging." However, then they couldn't laugh anymore because they saw the rock wall was breaking. Gradually, a green jade door carved with patterns of aquatic plants was revealed. When the stone door appeared, everyone felt that the surrounding temperature seemed to be rising again. Zhang Xuanyu said excitedly, "Treasures, there must be treasures here. We found a treasure cave." Han Fei was also very excited. He didn't expect that he would dig out a treasure when he captured a contractual spiritual beast. The sea was indeed the most mysterious place in the world, and there were treasures everywhere. Han Fei said, "Help me knock open the rock wall next to it, and see if there's anything else on the door." Luo Xiaobai said, "Be careful. There may be something hot behind the door." After a while, a complete door appeared, with the words Fire Cloud Cave written on it. Lu Renquang looked at the words for a long time. "Is this an ancient relic? It looks like it's very powerful." Han Fei dragged him away. "Step back. I'll try to open the door." Everyone stepped back dozens of steps. Luo Xiaobai said, "Lu Renquang, prepare the shield." Under everyone's nervous gaze, Han Fei stomped and tried to push the door open with all his strength. But the door didn't budge at all. Lu Renquang quickly stepped forward. "Let me help you." So the two fatties tried their best, but the result was the same. The door still didn't budge. Zhang Xuanyu said, "Me too." The result was still the same. Suddenly, Xia Xiaochan said, "Try to pull it up." "Pull up?" The three of them stared at each other and tentatively pulled it. As a result, the three of them pulled the door open. What followed was a wave of heat, and at the same time, a huge suction force came from the door. Everyone felt their bodies tilt and their vision blur. The next moment, they were standing in the cave. Xia Xiaochan muttered, "Three idiots." The three of them, at this moment, no one retorted because the scene in front of them had truly stunned them. Behind the door was a stove that was extremely hot. The surging waves of heat were emitted from the furnace. It was a circular space of less than 500 square meters. Apart from a large furnace placed at the entrance, there were only gray rock walls on both sides. In the middle, there was an irregular rock that was narrow at the top and wide at the bottom, connecting the top and the bottom of this space. "My sea god, did we really find the treasure?" Zhang Xuanyu was so excited that he wanted to get closer to the stove. However, when he was 2 meters away from the stove, he was sent flying by a strange scorching force. Fortunately, Luo Xiaobai reacted quickly and pulled him with a vine. Luo Xiaobai frowned slightly and said, "Be careful. This place is hidden very deep. It doesn't look like an ordinary treasure place. Don't be careless." Clang. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound. They saw that Lu Renquang was holding a knife and knocking on a stone on the rock wall. It was a kind of blue jade, which seemed to contain some spiritual energy. Han Fei was speechless. "Quang, you are really short-sighted. Why didn't you look at such a big furnace?" Lu Renquang said contemptuously, "There's nothing in that furnace. You'll know if you look up and see inside." Han Fei didn't believe it, so he deliberately stepped on the air, only to see that there was magma in the furnace. Luo Xiaobai said, "It's earth fire. This space is connected to earth fire. Come and see." Xia Xiaochan stood in front of a rock wall and seemed to have found something. When everyone gathered around, they found some murals on this rock wall. On the murals, a man with wings on his back, holding a spear and confronting a dragon. Looking at the murals, everyone roughly understood the cause and effect. It was said that an unknown dragon came to this level 2 fishery and caused a large number of fishing boats here to go missing. Later, a strong master came from high in the clouds with a group of people. This strong master bravely slayed the dragon with his men and went through several battles. Although they slayed the dragon in the end, most of his men were killed and the strong master was seriously injured. Later, this strong master found that this place was connected to earth fire and tried to recuperate here. Xia Xiaochan shook her head. This is not a dragon. If it were a legendary dragon, these people would have been killed as soon as they met. Take my great Xia Arowana, for example. In the same realm, there aren't many people who can block its throat. Han Fei nodded in agreement. Although I don't think it's a dragon, this thing can kill so many winged creatures. It should be very strong. What do you mean by so many winged creatures? They were all hidden fishers, but they were all killed. They were all gone. I'm afraid it's not easy to get the treasure. Zhang Xuanyu smacked his lips and guessed, as if he knew very well. Rumble, Han Fei and the others quickly looked back, only to find that Lu Rinquang and Xia Xiaochan had run to the rock wall dozens of meters away. There was no telling who pressed the switch, but at this moment, a stone door was rumbling open. Lu Rinquang looked at everyone apologetically. Sorry. Xia Xiaochan was about to stick her head into the hole when she was caught by vines. Luo Xiaobai looked at the two of them with a headache and said, Calm down. This place is weird. Don't run around. Xia Xiaochan giggled. If we can't get out, we have to go in. Even if there is danger, it's behind us. Han Fei found that he was not the only one who liked treasure hunting. It turned out that everyone liked it. Look at her. She's even more active than me. Zhang Xuanyu licked his lips. Let's go in. There seems to be no danger here. Han Fei leaned over and saw not only the big dark hole, but also the lights on both sides that had long been extinguished. He immediately narrowed his eyes. Wait a minute. Xia Xiaochan, try to light this light for me. Xia Xiaochan pointed her finger, and a string of flames emerged, which made Han Fei's imagination run wild. There were really all kinds of strange creatures in the sea. More importantly, when you obtained some special contractual spiritual beasts, you could have special abilities. Isn't it too cool? Her finger is even more useful than a lighter. In the next moment, a string of lights was ignited and extended all the way down. Han Fei was slightly stunned. Huh? An everlasting lamp? Why do I feel that this is a tomb, and this is a pathway? A tomb. Han Fei nodded. Yes, according to the information on the mural, this expert healed his wounds here with the help of the earth fire. But if that's the case, why did he deliberately build these light slots on the walls on both sides? Luo Xiaobai thought for a moment. Don't move. Let me try. Luo Xiaobai stretched out her hand, and the vines extended along the ground and the wall. After a few minutes, all the vines suddenly broke. Luo Xiaobai shivered, and her face was a little pale. Xia Xiaochan quickly supported her and asked, Xiaobai, what did you see? Luo Xiaobai looked awful. Human face crabs. A lot. They're clinging to the holes around the wall. I just disturbed them. Hiss! Everybody gasped. The human face crabs could create illusions. How could they deal with a lot of human face crabs? Xia Xiaochan, Luo Xiaobai, and Zhang Xuanyu all stepped back. Lu Rinquang was dumbfounded. Why are you looking at us? Han Fei rolled his eyes and wanted to step back too. But Xia Xiaochan poked him with a knife. Why are you stepping back? The human face crabs can only create illusions, but they're not strong enough to break your defense. Han Fei said innocently, What if I'm hallucinating and attack you? Isn't it easy to let Lu Rinquang sweep them with torrents of knives and swords? Zhang Xuanyu patted Han Fei's shoulder and said solemnly, Fei, with your reminder, you can attract them to attack you if you stand inside. In this way, those human face crabs won't care about us. Han Fei's face darkened. You're such a bad friend. Luo Xiaobai said, If Lu Rinquang is bewildered, only you can completely block his torrents of knives and swords. Lu Rinquang. Han Fei. Chapter 187. Han Fei and Lu Rinquang were ruthlessly betrayed just like that. The two of them walked into the cave with their arms around each other's shoulders. Lu Rinquang asked, I'm afraid of the dark. Why don't you walk in front? Han Fei was speechless. Why weren't you afraid of the dark when you went into the sea to catch turtles? Luren Kuang shrugged. I'm intermittent. Han Fei. Han Fei walked forward and even enjoyed a little bit. In this state of adventure, when people knew nothing about the road ahead, they would generally have two emotions. One was fear, and the other was excitement. Obviously, Han Fei was more excited. Human-faced crabs are just human-faced crabs. Can they chop me like vegetables? After walking for less than 50 meters, Han Fei suddenly stopped. Luren Kuang stuck out his head. Why did you stop? Han Fei turned his head stiffly, with a creepy smile on his face and creepy sounds coming from his mouth. Damn it! Ha 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 ha! Han Fei suddenly returned to normal, pointing at the dumbfounded Luren Kuang and laughing. Surprised? Surprised? Han Fei, I'm going to kill you outside the passage. Luo Xiaobai's face changed slightly. Luren Kuang has been bewitched. Zhang Xuanyu looked around. No, didn't you hear Han Fei laughing? He was so wretched. Xia Xiaochan nodded, determined not to go in. Han Fei's bad taste was satisfied. The two of them played for a while in the passage, and then Luren Kuang suddenly stopped and took out the box with a swish. Han Fei blinked and couldn't laugh anymore. He heard a rustling sound behind him. Han Fei didn't look back, but looked at Luren Kuang. Seriously? Are you going to use torrents of knives and swords? Luren Kuang shivered. Take it. How about you use them with me? I remember your blade storm is not bad either. Han Fei felt that the fishing rod behind him was hooked. Thus, he immediately lashed out with his twin sabers, slicing one of the human-faced crabs in half. But then his blood froze. He finally knew why Luo Xiaobai said there were a lot of human-faced crabs. How was this a lot? They were so densely packed that they looked like a swarm of locusts. Torrents of knives and swords. Blade storm. Almost instantaneously, both of them reacted. In the first few seconds, Han Fei felt like he was mincing meat, and a lot of broken shells hit his face. Then, he felt that something was wrong. His position had changed. The tunnel was still the tunnel. The human-faced crabs were still human-faced crabs, and Luren Kuang was gone. Illusion. This is all an illusion. As soon as Han Fei finished the illusion, the position changed again. He found himself in a circular space full of steel thorns, and countless marching sea leeches crawled out from the steel thorns. The steel thorns would also stab him in large quantities, causing his entire body to emit clanking sounds. You want to charm me? Pretending to be marching sea leeches? Am I not giving you face? Explode. As Han Fei blasted out a spiritual energy explosion, the steel spike ball disappeared. But Han Fei found that this was not a tunnel at all, and he didn't feel any pain anymore. Instead, he saw more than 10 wash-basin-sized eyes that emitted a faint green light. Hiss! Damn it, what a big crab! Han Fei swallowed. He saw a crab tens of meters long with a gloomy face. More importantly, this thing was smiling and staring at Han Fei with its mouth open and closed. He would be lying if he said he was not nervous. Strength and fear of the unknown didn't conflict at all. Han Fei took a few steps back. Brother Crab, how are you? A crab leg flashed by in an instant, and Han Fei's body made a weird posture and he rolled back on his back. The crab leg was less than a centimeter away from his nose, which made his scalp go numb. Rumble. Han Fei looked back, only to see that this small hole had been smashed by the crab leg, and gravel was rolling. Shoot. Brother Crab, I was just passing by. You don't have to be so cruel, do you? Thinking of the knife just now, it was too fast. If it weren't for his tense body, his head might have been cut off at this moment. Huh? Wait. Suddenly, Han Fei froze. I should be able to see the data. Even if you're a question mark, I should be able to see the question mark. But you don't even have a question mark. Are you fake? When the crab leg slashed at him again, Han Fei raised the two knives and slashed. Crack! The huge crab leg was easily cut off by Han Fei. Whew! That scared the hell out of me. Han Fei cursed aloud. Don't pretend to be cool if you're not strong enough. You scared me. I thought you were really that big. Han Fei took the initiative to attack. At this moment, the big crab suddenly turned into many small crabs and began to besiege him. Explode. Explode is healthier. I'll absorb. Han Fei could clearly sense that spiritual energy was flowing in. It meant that the human-faced crabs must have been slaughtered by him. It didn't make sense. There were so many crabs, and they couldn't be gone so easily. The silence was a bit weird. Unfortunately, the crabs were gone after the explosion of spiritual energy. But Han Fei didn't return to reality. Instead, he found himself on a fishing boat at sea. "Captain, we're here. Shall we go into the water to explore?" "This." Han Fei really gasped and pinched himself, only to find that it hurt. How could the illusion be so realistic? "Captain?" Pucci, Han Fei slashed at the guy behind him without any hesitation. Han Fei scoffed. "Lousy. You think you can mesmerize me with such an illusion?" "Attach." As soon as the nine-tailed mantis shrimp attached to him, the 7 chains began to sweep. Immediately, Han Fei was brought back to reality. The broken shells of the human-faced crabs were all over the ground. Many human-faced crabs were even fleeing. The scene was very real, but he didn't see Luren Quang. This was very abnormal. Could it be that he was still in an illusion? No. If Luren Quang were here, his torrents of knives and swords would have hit me. But I don't feel anything at all. Han Fei felt that he was lost. He turned around and shouted, "Quang Quang." Nobody responded. He called Xia Xiaochan and the others, but they still didn't respond. I'll just keep walking. Do you think I'm afraid?" Han Fei walked on. There was no telling whether the human-faced crabs were scared or not, but fewer human-faced crabs tried to attack him. Han Fei was no longer as casual as he was at the beginning. He found that the further he went, the colder it was. Although he wasn't scared of the cold, he could feel it. Isn't there an earth fire? But the temperature is already below 0. What fire are you talking about? After Han Fei walked through the cold and gloomy passage, he saw a green dragon coiled up in a big hole. At this moment, the dragon was holding its head high and roaring at him. The roar was as loud as that of a giant arowana. No data. Is it fake? Han Fei thought to himself. He had learned his lesson and knew that the illusions of the human-faced crabs were impossible to guard against. The dragon before him was fake, but he saw data appearing on a protruding stone at the dragon's tail. Human-faced ghost crab. This is a mutation of a human-faced crab that swallowed the decayed body of the blue sea wandering dragon. It has a strong hallucinogenic ability. Level 31 exotic. Mutation 982 points. Possible mental abnormalities after eating illusion. Beat. Han Fei sneered. "So, it was you who was playing tricks. I knew it. How could an ordinary human-faced crab create such an absurd illusion?" It turned out to be an exotic mutant human-faced crab. The dragon roared again and spurted a cold pillar of water at Han Fei. Han Fei didn't block it. Although he felt that his body was covered in ice, the ice was broken by his spiritual energy. Han Fei roared, "Crab die!" Chapter 188. Han Fei charged forward as if he didn't care about his life. The human-faced ghost crab didn't expect him to be so reckless either. He wasn't afraid of a dragon at all, and even wanted to kill it. The moment Han Fei approached, he suddenly changed his direction and darted out 7 chains, tying up the rock that the human-faced ghost crab disguised as. Critical blow. The knife in his hand turned into a white light and stabbed at the human-faced ghost crab. In the next moment, the illusion was gone, and Han Fei saw a super big crab 7 meters long suddenly stand up. The rock he saw just now turned out to be one of the crab's pincers. F***CK. Han Fei saw that his knife pierced through the crab's pincers and infuriated it. When the crab stood up, Han Fei realized why it was called the human-faced ghost crab. On its abdomen, there was a weird face, hideous, creepy, and terrifying. Although the 7 chains locked the human-faced ghost crab, the crab was already above level 30. It meant that the crab was as strong as a dangling fisher. Also, the crab's defense and strength were strong in the first place. He was thrown away and hit the rock wall. Hee. Little Black, get in. Han Fei wasn't panicked at all. Human-faced crabs weren't good at fighting. The only thing they were good at was creating illusions. Since the illusion had been broken by him, Han Fei wasn't scared even if the human-faced ghost crab was level 31. Little Black took the opportunity to sneak into the hole that Han Fei had just made. In the next moment, The human-faced crab began to wail, and all kinds of illusions changed in front of Han Fei. In the illusions, he saw the so-called dragon and a bunch of hidden fishers fighting. Dozens of hidden fishers attacked with all kinds of weapons. Manipulators, soul warriors, spirit gatherers, and so on. However, they were frozen by a blue gas that the green dragon spewed out. Apart from the battle, Han Fei also saw that the strongest expert drew the power of many people and pointed a finger at the dragon's head. The green light that the fingertips spurted out seemed to contain immense energy. Han Fei found it horrifying even though it was just an illusion. In an instant, dozens of scenes were switching. The human-faced ghost crab seemed to have lost its mind after being bitten by Little Black, and all the scenes of its life were replayed. This feeling was like a 5D movie, and Han Fei was in it. Han Fei saw that after slaying the dragon, the strong master's body cracked and almost collapsed. He dug up the dragon's corpse, ate the dragon's meat and liver, and barely managed to stabilize his injuries. However, his injuries were too severe. Extending his lifespan temporarily was completely useless. Thus, he used his remaining strength to open up this fire cloud cave. In order to prevent the dragon from reviving, he separated the dragon bones and scattered them in the cave. When he was opening up his immortal's cave, he accidentally discovered the earth fire, so he used the earth fire in the dragon corpse to refine pills. Unfortunately, because of the great drop in strength, the pill concoction failed. In the end, he couldn't hold on and died. And all of this was seen by a little crab. At first, this human-faced ghost crab was just an ordinary human-faced crab. It didn't dare to approach the pill cauldron or the dragon corpse for decades. It wasn't until it was nourished by the dragon chi that it dared to bite the bullet and eat some rotten dragon meat. Over time, the human-faced crab mutated and became the human-faced ghost crab that it was today. Suddenly, Han Fei stopped them. Little Black, stop eating. Little Black emerged from the shell of the human-faced ghost crab, one of its pincers drooping. Obviously, it had finished eating. Han Fei ordered, collect the demon. Perhaps the human-faced ghost crab was too frightened, or perhaps it was timid, or perhaps it felt that death was coming. But the demon purification pot didn't encounter any resistance when it collected the demon. This human-faced ghost crab was immediately collected into the calabash and went to accompany the golden snitch. After the human-faced ghost crab was collected, the ordinary human-faced crabs immediately ran back to their nest to hide. And in the place where the human-faced ghost crab used to be, a crystal bone more than 3 meters long was exposed. Han Fei had seen the human-faced ghost crab's small bone. Han Fei immediately recognized that it was a dragon bone. Excited, he immediately ran up to pick up the bone. As soon as he picked it up, Han Fei almost threw it away. His heart chilled, his heart soared, his bones were terrifyingly cold. Blue Sea Wandering Dragon Bone. The bone of the descendant of a dragon. It contains cold air. After a long time, its spiritual energy has been greatly reduced. It's an excellent material for forging spiritual weapons. Han Fei was shocked. Can it forge spiritual weapons? Is there really a dragon bone in this cave? Although there is only one here, it's so big that dozens of knives must have been cast. Putting away the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon Bone, Han Fei's heart was pounding. This is just a dragon bone. Logically speaking, there should be an entire set of dragon bones here. How could there be just one? If all the dragon bones were collected, then wouldn't the set of million knife school spiritual weapons be ready for completion? When Han Fei was about to continue exploring, he hesitated. Luren Kwong was gone. Should I look for him? But the moment he turned around, he saw that the one hole he had come from had turned into 3. Damn, which hole did I come from? Han Fei looked back at the hole behind the human-faced ghost crab. There was only one hole here. Was the purpose to make people more selective? Han Fei thought for a moment. Luren Kwong was not simple, or rather, everyone was not simple. They all had trump cards. Even Xia Xiaochan had a giant arowana with her. If it was just a creature at the level of the human-faced ghost crab, it shouldn't be a big problem. With this in mind, Han Fei strode to the hole ahead. Unfortunately, Han Fei didn't know how to play with fire and couldn't light the lamp slot, so he could only grope in the dark. Fortunately, A cultivator's vision was very strong, and this pitch-black cave didn't scare him. The tunnel was very long. Halfway through, Han Fei stopped. He found a fiery crystal on the wall. He couldn't tell its quality, and the demon purification pot didn't react. However, this thing gave him a scorching feeling and seemed to be able to resist the cold air in the cave. Immediately, Han Fei took out a knife and began to pick it up. 1, 2. Han Fei picked up nearly 100 fiery crystals in total and found that the road ahead was clear. It was also a big hole, even larger than the cave of the human-faced ghost crab. The cave was tens of meters high and inlaid with fiery crystals. However, this place was connected to the sea. Except for a circular passage for walking, it was a round swimming pool, and the water was extremely clear. Han Fei saw a super-large skull more than 10 meters long lying quietly in the water. Hiss! A dragon head? Beside the dragon head, there were various colored corals and some sea anemones, but no small fish or shrimp. Gudu, Han Fei swallowed. Did I just find a dragon head so easily? Han Fei felt that the demon purification pot on his wrist lit up. Recently, the demon purification pot had been quiet and rarely lit up. Only then did Han Fei find that the water here was full of spiritual energy. Han Fei took a deep breath and still felt cold. But because of the abundant spiritual energy, he felt refreshed and his eyes were clear. If he cultivated here, he would definitely make great progress. He ignored the fiery crystals on the rock wall above his head. There were so many of them that they couldn't be of good quality. He had no desire to collect them at all. Wong. Han Fei stared at the dragon head, and his face suddenly changed. There seemed to be some small stones inlaid at the bottom of the dragon head. Why did they look so familiar? Hiss. Spiritual stones. Shoot. Han Fei immediately got excited. He was wondering where the spiritual energy came from. Then he found spiritual stones. Whatever he lacked, he found them. Han Fei stepped out, but then he withdrew his foot. It was a bit strange that the dragon head was right here. By rights, there should be a lot of creatures here. But now there was none? Was there none, or did he not see it? Han Fei took out his fishing rod and tried to pull the dragon head up. He felt that this place was a bit weird, so he'd better be careful. Hew, the fishing hook went straight to the dragon head in the water. Come up. Hiss, it's so heavy. Just when Han Fei was struggling to pull it up, a long and huge shadow suddenly flashed by in the water. Han Fei couldn't see what it was at all, but he could only guess that it was about 7 or 8 meters long. Before Han Fei could think more, the fishing line was suddenly broken. Under the inertia, Han Fei stepped back 5 or 6 steps. He hurriedly ran to the edge of the pool again. What was that? 17. Chapter 189. Han Fei shivered slightly. Sometimes it was true that the enemy was not afraid of being strong, but people were afraid of being frightened. Wouldn't you be afraid of something that you could only see its shadow swimming past you in an instant? Han Fei glanced at his fishing rod. This was the first time the fishing line had snapped. Was the quality of the fishing rod too poor? No. Although the black iron rod wasn't great, it was still a mortal-level high-quality fishing rod. How could it be broken so easily? Han Fei suspected that the creature in the water was either very powerful or had extremely sharp blades like the blade fish and the swordfish. Attach. Han Fei thought for a moment. The tail of the nine-tailed mantis shrimp was very strong. Even if the guy in the water was comparable to a dangling fisher, he couldn't just cut the 7-star chain. Puff, puff, puff. The chains entered the water and locked onto the dragon's head from 7 directions. At that moment, Han Fei felt cold all over. How could the cold air on the dragon head be so heavy? Hula! The figure in the water appeared again, and when it swept past the chains, it made a chi-la sound. Han Fei could even see sparks in the water. Fortunately, the 7-star chain was clearly able to withstand the attacks of the underwater monsters. This meant that the sea monster wasn't strong enough to make one's hair stand on end. Otherwise, even if the 9-tailed mantis shrimp was a legendary creature, it wouldn't be able to resist absolute strength. Get up here. Han Fei gathered his strength and pulled back fiercely. As the dragon head was moved, it seemed like it was going to break the corals in the water. But when the dragon head was pulled, The chain was frozen in an instant, and Han Fei's whole body was covered with a layer of frost. That wasn't the end of it. At this moment, the swift shadow appeared again. Han Fei only saw a bloody mouth. In the next moment, an electric current flowed up the ice and electrocuted Han Fei. The high-voltage electricity instantly shattered the ice and rushed into Han Fei's body. Even though Han Fei's body was strong, he couldn't bear it. He felt as if he had been struck by lightning. The electric current passed through his internal organs. Han Fei stiffened and fell straight to the surface of the water. At that moment, Han Fei finally saw the sea monster. Dragon eel, the demonic fish mixed with dragon blood, lived on dragon bones all year round. They were highly cold resistant and had a tough body and powerful high-voltage electricity. Level 33, strange, 2060, 4 points bone strengthening, beautifying, and nourishing plop. Han Fei fell into the water, but before his body recovered from the paralysis, he felt a long tail lashing at him. Bang! The entire cave trembled. Han Fei was slapped dozens of meters away in the water. After spinning in the water for an unknown number of times, he finally stabilized himself. His stiff body also returned to normal after this strike. Such power! Han Fei's mouth and nose were bleeding, and he was horrified. This was too strong. Even with the Starlight immortal body, he was still injured in one move. How was he supposed to fight this kind of strength? This time, Han Fei didn't let Little Black bite him. If this guy released electricity, would Little Black be able to withstand it? The black shadow was as fast as lightning, whistling over once again. Even though Han Fei dodged in a weird way, he still failed to dodge and was knocked away by the dragon eel again. Rip! The electric current surged again, and Han Fei's body stiffened again. Han Fei realized something, and the next moment, he flew up again. This time, not only was he sent flying, but he also crashed into the rock stratum above his head, rolling all the way. A mouthful of blood spurted out, and Han Fei's face became extremely ugly. This was the first time he had encountered such a strong opponent. Compared with the blow he suffered in the Blue Sea Arena, this was the first time he had been so seriously injured since he activated the Shulian immortal body. Han Fei immediately drew out his double knives. At the moment when the dragon eel rushed at him, he also tried his best. He activated the spiritual energy protective cover, and the 7 chains entangled him at the same time. Han Fei was directly knocked away by the dragon eel. Before he could stab the knives in his hands, the dragon eel swam past him from the side. But fortunately, 2 chains were locked on the dragon eel. Rip! The electric current was still surging, but Han Fei gritted his teeth and refused to let go, even though his 7 apertures were bleeding. The electric current couldn't kill him. Since he was struck by lightning last time, he had known that. But because of this, Han Fei was badly thrown by the dragon eel. One moment, he was whipped against the rock wall. The next moment, he smashed the coral on the ground. And the next moment, he was electrocuted. The spiritual energy protective cover on Han Fei's body was shattered again and again. He could even feel that the 9-tailed mantis shrimp was running out of strength. After being beaten for about 5 minutes, Han Fei's face was pale. He was electrocuted dozens of times, vomited 7 or 8 mouthfuls of blood, and his skin was torn by the dragon eel. Fuse. Han Fei chose to fuse. Although he knew that the effect of fusion was not great, in the Yin Yang Divine, I could only see the opponent's attack path and slow down the opponent's attack speed in his eyes. However, this dragon eel was discharging electricity, and it was useless to dodge it. He couldn't dodge it at all. However, the moment Han Fei became bloodthirsty, his defense and attack power were slightly stronger. While the dragon eel was not discharging electricity at this moment, he also entangled it with the remaining chains. Pulling the chains violently, Han Fei finally caught the dragon eel in the electric shock. The moment Han Fei caught the dragon eel, his whole body trembled. He was so shocked by the electric shock that his soul almost flew out of his body. Suck me. Han Fei felt that he couldn't bear it any longer. If he didn't kill this dragon eel, he would be killed. Fortunately, the demon purification pot was shining at this moment, as if it was breathing. The electric current on the dragon eel began to weaken, and its speed began to slow down. Although it was still crashing crazily with Han Fei, its strength was obviously much weaker. It can even resist the spiritual energy absorption of the demon purification pot? Han Fei clearly felt that the spiritual energy of this dragon eel had been greatly reduced, but its strength was reduced by about half. Hiss! Collect the demon. Bam! Han Fei was thrown against the rock wall by the tail. He failed to collect the demon for the first time. Han Fei stabbed hard with his double knives, but he couldn't cut in much. This dragon eel's body was too strong. Continue to suck. I'll suck you to death, you bastard. If you don't want to die, be a good boy and get into the gourd. Collect the demon. He and the beast were in a stalemate for more than 5 minutes. Finally, the dragon eel was sucked into the gourd when its spiritual energy was almost exhausted. The moment the dragon eel was sucked into the gourd, Han Fei lay on the bottom of the water. There were dozens of wounds all over his body, and his bones seemed to be broken. He felt that his body had been destroyed. After struggling for a long time, Han Fei finally found the entrance of the cave. He floated out, took a deep breath, and then sat cross-legged on the bottom of the water. No, I'm going to make a breakthrough. Otherwise, how can I continue to explore if I'm too seriously injured? Digging dozens of low-quality spiritual stones from the dragon head, Han Fei sat cross-legged, cast the divine healing technique on himself, and chose to make a breakthrough. At that moment, a large amount of spiritual energy surged. In half an hour, more than 30 low-quality spiritual stones were broken, but this was far from enough. Han Fei's injuries were getting better, and the spiritual energy in his body was surging. After a while, nearly 50 spiritual stones around him were broken again. Han Fei's injuries were healed, his internal organs were stabilized, and spiritual energy was surging in his meridians, which were a little hot. Gotcha! In an instant, Han Fei's momentum soared, his strength increased significantly, and his realm soared. After all the spiritual stones in front of him were broken, Han Fei slowly stopped absorbing spiritual energy. He was a little shocked. He didn't know whether it was because he was too seriously injured or because he broke through 3 levels in a row, but this time he consumed a lot of spiritual energy. 1,000,000 points of spiritual energy supported him to advance from a junior peak level great fishing master to an intermediate great fishing master. Han Fei was sure that others cultivated hard every day and guided spiritual energy into their bodies. After a long time, it might take 70,000 to 80,000 points of spiritual energy to make a breakthrough. But 3 small levels only required 300,000 to 400,000 points of spiritual energy, but now it had more than doubled. How could he continue to make breakthroughs in the future? He looked at the data. Owner Han Fei, level greater than 26. Intermediate Great Fishing Master. Spiritual energy greater than 6,246. 2,499. Spiritual Heritage, level 4. Low quality, Spiritual Beast. Twin Yin-Yang Spirit. Swallowing Fish. Weapon. Purple Bamboo. Rod Major Gongfa. Water Vein Technique. Volume 3 of Void Fishing. Phew. His upper limit of spiritual energy increased by 400 points. This meant that his comprehensive strength had improved a lot. What made Han Fei a little distressed was that he only had 6,246 points of spiritual energy left, which was not enough for a battle. For example, the battle with the dragon eel this time consumed more than 6,000 points of spiritual energy. He didn't know how many times his spiritual energy protective cover had been smashed. Han Fei immediately looked at the dragon head. I hope you don't let me down. Chapter 190. When Han Fei touched the skull of the blue sea wandering dragon with one hand, his hand began to freeze, and he quickly let go. Wow, a bone that could be used to make spiritual weapons was really extraordinary. Even if this thing was made into a weapon, could it be used by him? Han Fei forcibly took the dragon head into Forge the Universe. Suddenly, the crops in Forge the Universe were all frozen into dregs. The white fishing boat was covered with a layer of frost. Han Fei rubbed his head. The crops were planted in vain. However, such a big head was enough for him to refine 1,000 knives. It was not a loss at all, but a big profit. After taking away the dragon head, Han Fei crouched at the bottom of the water, rummaging through the coral mud, and finally found 12 low-quality spiritual stones. In this way, including the ones he had just absorbed, he had obtained nearly 60 to 70 low-grade spirit stones from the dragon head. No, now my spiritual energy is running out. 12 are not enough. Rumble. Han Fei suddenly trembled. He hurriedly jumped out of the water, only to see a heat wave penetrating the hole that he hadn't entered in time. Han Fei was stunned. This passageway was not short. The flames had reached so deep. What had happened on the other side? Having no time to think, Han Fei immediately ran over. Needless to say, it must be Lu Rinquang and the other three who made the noise. Because of the impact of the flames, the lamp slot in this tunnel was ignited. Han Fei sped up and ran wildly, but he encountered nothing. After running for nearly 2 kilometers, Han Fei saw light. When Han Fei jumped out of the hole, his vision suddenly became clear. This was a huge cave, more than 10 times larger than the previous small caves. In the cave, half of the flames were filled. Han Fei finally understood why it was called the Fire Cloud Cave. It turned out that this was the key to the problem. In the thick flames, there seemed to be something roaring, and Xia Xiaochan was sticking to the rock wall at this moment, vomiting blood. Zhang Xuanyu knelt on one knee, holding a stick with one hand, while wiping the blood. Luo Xiaobai seemed to have met her nemesis. She was wrapping herself with vines, and, at the same time, a dragon bone was inserted in front of her. As for Lu Rinquang, he was struggling to resist the flames with 7 or 8 big shields in front of him. Swish! Han Fei immediately threw out the dragon bone that he had picked up before. As soon as the dragon bone appeared, the flames immediately retreated 30 meters. Lu Rinquang looked back and was overjoyed. Han Fei, you're not dead. Zhang Xuanyu was overjoyed. Fei, hurry up. There is a monster in the fire, a corpse. Xia Xiaochan hurriedly said, be careful. It may be the bones of that dragon slayer. Han Fei was stunned. What's going on? The dragon slayer? That guy was so fierce that he killed the blue sea wandering dragon with one finger. How could he beat him? Luo Fei immediately sent a few pillars of spiritual energy into their bodies. Han Fei immediately came back to his senses and injected a few pillars of spiritual energy into their bodies. The few of them immediately heaved a sigh of relief, feeling slightly better. However, before Han Fei went up to help, he saw an emaciated corpse walking out of the flames and punching Zhang Xuanyu. Bam! With a loud explosion, the rod in Zhang Xuanyu's hand was directly bent, and his whole body was blasted away like a cannonball. Dragon, 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 of the Zhang, to fly. The Fei of the Zhang, of the dragon, with dragon. The demon purification pot didn't show anything, as if it couldn't recognize human beings. Han Fei took a deep breath. He was an intermediate great fishing master, but he couldn't even fight a skeleton. Immediately, he took out the purple bamboo rod and smashed it with all his strength. Clang! Kacha! The sound wave instantly filled the whole cave, and Han Fei was blown away by the punch. The purple bamboo rod in his hand was broken, and the skeleton was smashed dozens of meters away, rolling on the ground. Han Fei was shocked. What the hell is this? How can it be so strong? Xia Xiaochan was anxious. Be careful. Although it has become a skeleton, it is definitely as strong as an advanced dangling fisher. Otherwise, how could we be beaten like this? Luo Xiaobai said, one dragon bone can protect one person at most. Find a way to lead this guy away from here. As long as we find more dragon bones, we can suppress it. Han Fei was helpless. Then why don't you keep fighting and I'll go find the dragon bones? Lu Rinquang and Luo Xiaobai threw the dragon bones in front of them to Han Fei and shouted, you fight. We'll go find the dragon bones. Han Fei. Xia Xiaochan flashed away. Your body is the strongest. Who else can do it if not you? Huh? Have you made a breakthrough? Han Fei could tell by his weight whether he had made a breakthrough or not. At this moment, Han Fei was thinner than before. It was estimated that after he became a peak-level great fishing master, he would become thin again. But the others were not in the mood to pay attention to this now. Before the breakthrough, Han Fei's body was extremely strong. Now that he had made a breakthrough, he should be stronger. In fact, Han Fei's body did become stronger, but not as much as he imagined. After all, the indestructible body that had been tempered by lightning last time couldn't make a breakthrough easily. The enhancement this time was just a natural enhancement from a junior great fishing master to an intermediate great fishing master. Zhang Xuanyu shouted, "Fei Fei, in ancient times, there were hidden fishers who went into the sea to slay dragons. Now you are a dragon slayer with 2 dragon bones. You are the most legendary figure in the 4th Academy this year. Come on, the door is behind this guy." Han Fei. Han Fei looked at the 2 dragon bones in front of him, and his face turned green. These people had no sense of loyalty. They slipped away as soon as he arrived. Thanks to the battle with the dragon eel, just now, he had made a breakthrough. Otherwise, how could he defeat this skeleton in front of him? Han Fei reluctantly picked up the dragon bones, exerted strength under his feet, and rushed into the flames in an instant. Wherever he passed, the flames retreated. This was the power of the blue sea wandering dragon bones. Roar! The skeleton of the strong master had subconsciously avoided the dragon bones. But Han Fei's close combat immediately enraged him. For a time, flames gathered and surged towards Han Fei. At that moment, Han Fei felt that he was almost roasted by the rolling heat waves. On the other side, Xia Xiaochan and the other 3 quickly slipped into the cave behind the skeleton of the strong master. Han Fei shouted, "Hurry up and get some dragon bones back. I can't do it alone." Xia Xiaochan's voice echoed in the cave. "Hold on for half an hour." Han Fei wanted to vomit blood. Half an hour? Fight with this thing for half an hour? However, after a while, when there was no more sound in the cave, Han Fei immediately took out his dragon head. As soon as the dragon head came out, the flames in the whole cave suddenly shrank. The skeleton also froze and seemed to be a little scared. Attach. Han Fei took out the chains and tried to swing the dragon head with all his strength. However, this thing was a bit heavy, and the dragon head would freeze as soon as it was pulled, so it was too slow to hit anyone. F***CK, the dragon head is here. Come on, hit me. Han Fei stopped pulling the dragon head and waved the 2 dragon bones like 2 big clubs. Clang, clang, clang. The skeleton seemed to be completely suppressed and completely lost the power to break the purple bamboo rod with a punch just now. Han Fei also took the opportunity to knock it dozens of times. Oh no, the skeleton of this strong master is too hard. I can't break it. Han Fei stood next to the dragon head and didn't move. He was almost turned into an ice sculpture. Fortunately, the skeleton didn't attack him. The 2 sides were in a stalemate. Han Fei scratched his head. He couldn't hit the dragon head, and neither could the dragon bones. Should he run first? Han Fei dragged the dragon head to the entrance of the cave. The skeleton avoided to the other side. Then, Han Fei stood in front of the cave. After half an hour, there was no movement in the cave at all. Han Fei shouted, "Are you back?" "Huh?" No response. He immediately withdrew the dragon head. At the moment the dragon head disappeared, the skeleton seemed to be revived. With a roar, it rushed at Han Fei. Han Fei ran and said, "Brother Bone, don't chase me. I'm not your wife. Why are you chasing me?" The strong skeleton ran into the cave with Han Fei, one in front and one behind, sprinting crazily. After a while, Han Fei rushed into another cave. As soon as he stepped in, he saw the remains of the Buddha's tentacles and the footprints of several people on the ground. It seemed that Lu Rin Kuang and the other 3 had broken through here. Han Fei continued to run, and the flames came again. 1 cave, 2 caves. Han Fei was speechless and shouted back, "Brother Bone, you are good at digging holes, right? Do you have to dig so many holes?" When Han Fei ran into the 4th tunnel, Xia Xiaochan and the others came up to him. Suddenly, they stopped and stared at each other. Xia Xiaochan asked, "Why are you here?" Luo Xiaobai looked behind Han Fei. "Turn around and run." Chapter 191. Zhang Xuanyu ran back and shouted, "Fei Fei, didn't I tell you to hold on?" Han Fei said angrily. Hold on. Do you think I can beat him? Han Fei was struggling to hold the double dragon bones and couldn't swing the dragon head. What could he do? I'm having a headache too. Maybe I can try the water-stirring seal later. In the small hole, Luo Xiaobai shouted, spread out. Han Fei, give me a dragon bone. Han Fei threw the dragon bone to Luo Xiaobai, and it was caught by a vine. Seeing that the others all had dragon bones, he was relieved. Brother Bone is afraid of the cold. Don't use other weapons. Just hit him with the dragon bone. Before long, the skeletons had arrived. As soon as he came in, he was slightly stunned, as if he felt the coldness of this place. Han Fei shouted, go. Hammer him. Scar of War Shadows. With that said, Han Fei took the lead and smashed the dragon bone at them with all his might. Bam! The corpse turned around and punched Han Fei, forcing him to take 5 steps back. The others slightly changed their expressions. With the 5 dragon bones, not enough. Han Fei was still beaten back by a punch. Luo Xiaobai roared and wrapped the dragon bone in vines, knocking at the corpse. Luo Xiaobai shouted, let's go together. This corpse can only fight instinctively. Let's go together and see if we can suppress it. Xia Xiaochan nodded. Although it's not in line with the role of a hunter, I agree. Zhang Xuanyu shouted to embolden himself. My stick is bent. Let's go. Luren Kuang shivered. Kill him. The 5 of them waved the blue sea wandering dragon bones and charged forward together. When the 5 dragon bones were gathered, the suppression force appeared. The ice-cold dragon bones finally extinguished the flames on the expert's corpse, revealing his body. Everyone saw that there was a crimson stone at the heart of the corpse. Zhang Xuanyu shouted, hit the stone out. This must be the source of his power. Supreme Stab. Using the dragon bone as a dagger, Xia Xiaochan sped up and stabbed the back of the corpse, making it stagger. But the stone was still firmly stuck inside. Bind. The fire went out, and Luo Xiaobai's vines finally came in handy. At this moment, it was madly wrapping around the skeleton. Luren Kuang took out a black glove from the armor box. He put on his glove and grabbed the stone. Howl! Luren Kuang suddenly retracted his hand, and the black glove on his hand had been burned with a big hole, and his whole hand was covered with blisters. Luren Kuang shivered and almost cried. You can't touch it. Luckily, I reacted quickly, or else my hand would have been crippled. Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. Then what should we do? It's not like we can separate. Once we're separated, the flames on his body will come out, and it'll take a lot of effort. Xia Xiaochan kicked the bones that were tied up by vines and said, if only we could make a box out of these dragon bones. Everyone immediately looked at Xia Xiaochan. Luo Xiaobai nodded. Good idea, but we don't have any refiners here. Seeing this, Han Fei couldn't help but say leisurely, actually, I know a little bit about refining. Everyone. Han Fei smiled awkwardly. Don't stare at me. However, I also need a fire. Remember the fire at the door when we just came in? I may need to go there. Xia Xiaochan looked at him weirdly. Han Fei, what else are you hiding? Just tell me. I really don't. I used to think that buying weapons was too expensive, so I taught myself a little bit. Everyone chuckled. You want to learn refining by yourself? Do you mean that none of us are geniuses, but you are? Luo Xiaobai shouted, hurry up. We'll hold on for half an hour. Luren Kuang's eyes flickered. Han Fei, I broke a lot of weapons this time. Han Fei ran away with a bone. Before he ran, he saw the flames on the surface of this skeleton again. They couldn't hold on for too long. Han Fei ran through a tunnel and looked back. Who would really go to the furnace? He immediately stretched out his hand, and the calabash appeared, and the dragon bones were directly sucked in. The demon purification pot's refining speed was not slow. However, Han Fei expected that a box would consume a lot of spiritual energy. But as soon as the thought flashed through his mind, 20,000 points of spiritual energy were gone, and 2 low-quality spiritual stones were broken. Wow, so expensive? Han Fei shivered. It cost 20,000 points of spiritual energy to refine a box. It was the first time in his life that he refined a spiritual weapon, and he refined a box. Then how long would it take to refine all the knives of the Million Knife Art? Wouldn't it cost hundreds of millions of points of spiritual energy? Damn it, a small piece of the dragon bone was used, and the remaining dragon bone was spat out. Han Fei waited for half an hour before he slowly walked into the tunnel. When Han Fei came in again, he found that Lu Renquang and the others were jumping and knocking the skeleton with the dragon bones. Luo Xiaobai was overjoyed to see Han Fei. Did you succeed? Pooh! Han Fei immediately pretended to vomit blood and said palely, I was almost killed. This dragon bone box used up all the spiritual energy in my body, and it even cost me a spiritual fruit. As he spoke, Han Fei threw the dragon bone box over. No one doubted him. Although they didn't know the level of the blue sea wandering dragon bone, they had a guess. It wouldn't be easy for Han Fei to refine it. Luo Xiaobai immediately shouted, Give me the rest of the dragon bones too. Han Fei threw the dragon bones out, and Lu Renquang grabbed the dragon bones and extinguished the flames on the skeleton again. Luo Xiaobai took the opportunity to stick the box in the skeleton's chest. Finally, the red stone was sealed. Without the stone, the skeleton no longer moved and directly shattered into pieces. Everyone looked at each other in shock. Zhang Xuanyu was shocked. It died so easily. Xia Xiaochan said, It's dead. Lu Renquang hurriedly threw the box to Han Fei. Throw it into the sea, swallowing seashell. I don't want to hold this thing. Han Fei touched the box, and it disappeared. Then he stared at Lu Renquang and asked, Were you just now? Lu Renquang said innocently, How would I know? I was wondering where you were. You were fighting, and then you disappeared. I searched for you for a long time, but couldn't find you. Then, I accidentally walked into a cave and found a mutant hermit crab. I almost ran into it and killed myself. Luo Xiaobai said solemnly, We only chased after you when we found that you were not moving. However, we only found Lu Renquang. Where did you go? Han Fei snorted. I met a mutant human face crab. I was an illusion the whole time. After I killed it, I found that you were all gone. Zhang Xuanyu chuckled. That's good. This is a great opportunity. The blue sea wandering dragon bone is not ordinary. Fei Fei, when the time comes, forge a few decent spirit artifact for us. Pooh! Han Fei kicked Zhang Xuanyu. Damn it! A box almost cost me my life. You want me to build a spiritual weapon for you? Zhang Xuanyu quickly dodged. I'm just kidding. Xia Xiaochan stared at the dragon bone in her hand for a long time and said slowly, It seems that the tailbone is still missing. Tailbone? Everyone looked at Xia Xiaochan. Xia Xiaochan rolled her eyes and said, Nonsense, a dragon. Doesn't it have a tail? What we are holding now are all sections of the torso, so there must be a tailbone, right? Luo Xiaobai nodded. Yes, not only the tailbone, but also the dragon head. Everyone trembled. Zhang Xuanyu quickly waved his hand. Forget it, forget it. Forget about the dragon head. A dragon bone can create a mutant creature comparable to a dangling fisher. What kind of monster can the dragon head be? Lu Renquang nodded. I agree. I can still look for the tailbone, but I won't look for the dragon head. It's scary. Han Fei frowned. He couldn't say that the dragon head had been put away. Could he? He quickly changed the topic. Where did you find the skeleton of this strong master? Xia Xiaochan snorted. It ran out by itself. I don't know which hole it came out from. Anyway, this fire cloud cave is full of holes. However, this strong master is dead, so we should be able to continue exploring. Han Fei quickly said, Let's take a rest first. Let me tell you, a dragon's tail is not much worse than a dragon's head. As the saying goes, a dragon breathes dragon breath from its mouth, and its tail is extremely powerful. Let's be careful. Xia Xiaochan scoffed. I haven't seen a dragon yet, so I don't know what a dragon head looks like. Han Fei thought for a moment. The head he got had no horns and was quite ugly. He wondered if this blue sea wandering dragon was a real dragon. After a moment, Zhang Xuanyu said excitedly, Can we go now? Han Fei said expectantly, Yes. Chapter 192. According to their route, they were only short of the dragon's tail. After all, the dragon's head had already been taken by them. This time, the tunnel was very long, and unexpectedly, there were no special creatures sneaking up on them. Luo Xiaobai frowned. Don't you feel strange? Xia Xiaochan nodded. Yes, the spiritual energy has become denser. Luren Kuang shivered. It's a bit cold. Han Fei was also thinking about this question along the way. He was wondering, why are there so many holes? Why is the fire cloud cave so deep? Suddenly, Han Fei was stunned. Why is the dragon's head in front? What's the purpose? Is it possible that the expert wants to turn the dragon into a dragon after it dies? Hiss! Dragon vein. Han Fei was shocked and hurriedly said, Dragon vein. Judging from the arrangement of these dragon bones, we should be walking on a dragon vein. Everyone was curious. What is a dragon vein? Han Fei scoffed. Stupid. After a dragon dies, it uses the terrain to create a dragon-shaped earth vein. The land of a dragon vein is suitable for raising corpses. Damn, let's go forward, hurry up. Han Fei seemed to think of something and suddenly sprinted forward. Although the others didn't understand, they quickly followed him. After running for only a few kilometers, a huge cave appeared, larger than all the previous caves. However, at this moment, everyone suddenly stopped at the entrance of the cave, not even daring to breathe loudly. Xia Xiaochan poked Han Fei and asked telepathically, Why is there a person sitting there? Han Fei swallowed and replied, If my guess is correct, this is the real Dragon Slayer. The one just now was not him at all. Hiss, all of them subconsciously took half a step back. Are you kidding us? The guy just now was already so awesome, but he was still not the Dragon Slayer? However, everyone agreed without thinking about it. Because in the center of this cave, there seemed to be a living person sitting there in a Shiulian posture. This person's face was pale, and his skin and flesh were all there. There was no telling whether he was dead or alive. More importantly, this person's face was facing the entrance of their cave. Gudu, Luren Kuang said to the others telepathically, Let's run. This is a being who can kill a dragon with one finger. We can't even withstand one finger of his. Everyone wanted to retreat, but Han Fei didn't. The dragon's tail was placed 2 meters in front of the expert. Around the expert, there was a 5-meter wide ring-shaped pit. The pit was filled with nothing but spirit spring water. Han Fei's heart was pounding. The spiritual spring was more attractive to him than the dragon tail. Now that his spiritual energy was almost depleted, when would he become an advanced great fishing master? If he relied on himself, when would he be able to master the set of Million Knife Art? But how much spirit spring was there in front of him? It was more than 10 million points. If he could get it, he would definitely be rich. Luo Xiaobai said telepathically, Look, there's a door on the other side. Zhang Xuanyu asked, Is it the exit? Xia Xiaochan nodded. It's possible that they've already reached the end. Logically speaking, there should be a way out. Otherwise, we would have to run to the furnace. Luren Kuang asked, What if the door is not an exit? Everyone was silent for a moment. What if the door wasn't the exit? Wouldn't he be cutting off his escape route? However, just as they were hesitating, a loud sound came from behind them. The cave was shaking, and rocks fell down. Not good. The back has collapsed. The 5 people's faces turned green. Why did the cave have to shake at this moment? When the cave shook, the expert sitting cross-legged in the center of the cave suddenly opened his eyes. Han Fei screamed, Let's go. That door has become the last way out. Luren Kuang howled, I told you not to look for it. Look, we're all going to be beaten to death this time. Luo Xiaobai said, Let's go over before this expert recovers. The distance of hundreds of meters was covered in the blink of an eye. In the next moment, everyone rushed out. Luren Kuang and Han Fei carried the door. Sure enough, just like the previous door, they just needed to lift it up. Xia Xiaochan and Luo Xiaobai quickly passed through the gap of the lifted door. Zhang Xuanyu followed closely. Luren Kuang's face turned red. Use your strength. I can't get through. Han Fei said, I told you to lose weight, but you didn't listen. Now you know the pain when you're running for your life, don't you? Armor and shield. Luren Kuang used his armor box in an instant. Several big shields were about to be propped up under the gap of the door, but in the next second, Han Fei and Luren Kuang were both stunned. They felt a chill on their backs, and they didn't know when a person was standing behind them. Han Fei shouted, F***CK. Zhang Xuanyu shouted from the other end, Come here. Rumble, the stone door collapsed in an instant, hitting the ground with a muffled sound. At the same time, mystic stones fell from all directions. Not only this door, but another door was also blocked. At the same time, a fat body was kicked out from inside. The force was so fierce that Lu Rinquang rolled 7 or 8 times on the ground. Lu Rinquang's face changed drastically, and he ran to the door, shouting, "Violent war body!" At this moment, not only Lu Rinquang, but the others also turned pale and tried to lift the stone door with all their might. Unfortunately, they could only pull up a space of 3 inches before they couldn't move any further. Lu Rinquang's eyes were bloodshot, and he roared anxiously, Han Fei, you ironhead fish, have you ever been hit in the head by an ironhead fish? Han Fei, say something. Fei, say something. Don't leave us behind." BM, an enormous force hit the door, and Lu Rinquang and the others were flung several meters away. Luo Xiaobai's face was pale. "Not good, we're pressed by something." Lu Rinquang's voice was shivering. He roared with tears on his face. "Lift it! Lift it! Lift it!" Han Fei's face changed greatly. He held the dragon bone and stuck it to the wall behind him. Half a meter in front of him, the man looked at him with a blank expression. "Gudu, brother, let's talk nicely. We're all civilized people. Fighting is too rude." The man didn't respond, but simply stared at the dragon bone in Han Fei's hand. Han Fei quickly extended the dragon bone. "Senior, do you want it? I'll give it to you." Han Fei didn't even see how the man attacked, but the dragon bone in his hand was thrown away and hit the wall. Hiss! "Oh my God! Senior, let's be reasonable and not fight." Han Fei's back was covered in cold sweat. He was holding the water-stirring seal in his hand, wondering if he should seal this be asterisk starred. But if the water-stirring seal couldn't hurt this guy, wouldn't he be doomed? Han Fei slightly moved aside. It was definitely not a pleasant thing to stand face-to-face with a dragon slayer. More importantly, Han Fei saw that the dragon slayer's face seemed to be aging. Is he turning into a corpse? Han Fei was lost for words. The treasure hunt turned into a graveyard. He wondered if this guy was dead or not. If he was alive, how many years had he lived? The dragon had turned into bones, but he didn't change at all. BM, Kacha. Han Fei was slapped away and slapped directly into the spiritual spring. Han Fei was stunned by the slap. His ribs were broken, and his chest was badly mutilated. Han Fei was shocked by the man's strength. No, he's not too strong. Has this guy not fully recovered yet? Yes, the mural showed that this man was heavily wounded and dying. If he was dying, his strength must have been greatly reduced. Thinking of this, Han Fei thought of something. Could it be that the spiritual spring provided the source of his strength? I'll suck it all up. With a thought from Han Fei, more than half of the water in the pool was gone, and Forge the Universe was filled. The space of 60 square meters was filled with spiritual spring. Han Fei was shocked. How much spiritual spring was there? Master Calabash, suck it up. Forge the Universe, expand. Little black, little white. 9 tails, come out and eat. The man looked at Han Fei gloomily and walked over step by step. Han Fei stretched out his hand, and the demon purification pot appeared in his palm. The dragon head takes up too much space. I'll throw it to make knives. Then a huge dragon head blocked in front of Han Fei. The moment the dragon head appeared, the man stopped. His face seemed to be full of anger. Immediately, the dragon head was sucked into the calabash. Han Fei shouted to the man, "Illusion! What you see is an illusion. That's not a dragon head, but a snake head." Chapter 193. At this moment, Han Fei saw that the man's skin was rapidly darkening, and spots even appeared on his face. His body was aging faster. Han Fei's eyes lit up. He guessed right. The rich spiritual energy here prevented the man's body from decaying. In fact, he was already dead. This was just a fake corpse. The moment the dragon head disappeared, the man took action. He punched with one hand. Han Fei's face changed drastically, and he hurriedly rushed to the other side, roaring, "Attach! Fuse! Fury! Spiritual energy protective cover! Water-stirring seal technique!" In an instant, Han Fei's strength skyrocketed. He was originally an intermediate great fishing master, but now he was as strong as a peak-level great fishing master. At the same time, the water-stirring seal appeared in the air. The huge phantom smashed the man's fist. Rumble. The mountain shook violently and rubble fell. Outside the door, Luren Kwong was waiting anxiously. A terrible battle seemed to have broken out inside. Luo Xiaobai said calmly, "Zhang Xuanyu, Xiaochan, go out and find teacher." Xiao Xiaochan frowned. "How long will it take? Han Fei can't hold on for that long." Luo Xiaobai added, "Since there's a fight inside, it means that Han Fei has other trump cards. Go, this is the only way to save him now." Without saying a word, Zhang Xuanyu rushed to the entrance of the cave with his rod. This road was extremely damp. There must be a way out. Inside the door, Han Fei was hit flying, and his spiritual energy protective cover was instantly smashed. At the same time, the nine-tailed mantis shrimp was injured and its attached state was cancelled. The state of fusion also collapsed instantly, and Little Black and Little White were slapped back to the sea of spirit rings. Han Fei also coughed up a mouthful of blood heavily. After this punch, the man seemed to have aged dozens of years at once. He was aging rapidly. Han Fei cast the divine healing technique on himself as if it were free, and at the same time, his body made a strange arc and pounced on the spiritual spring. He muttered, "Go, go, go, BEM." Han Fei was punched in the back and immediately vomited a mouthful of blood. He felt that his body was almost blown up. Forge the universe. The next moment, Han Fei disappeared from this huge cave. Forge the universe had been filled with the spiritual spring. Han Fei vomited several mouthfuls of blood as soon as he came in. There was a fist mark from his back to his front. He didn't know how many bones were broken. Motherf asterisk cur. Why can't I come in instantly? Han Fei was rather annoyed. Forge the universe was a good place, but it was only a matter of seconds to put inanimate objects in. However, if a living person entered, including himself, there would be a trace of resistance. This resistance made it impossible for Han Fei to come in immediately. He needed some time. He was sure that if the guy outside knew this, he would never give him the slightest chance to enter Forge the Universe. At this moment, Forge the Universe was expanding at a slow speed. From a beginning until now, it hadn't even expanded half a meter. Han Fei quickly cast the divine healing technique on himself. After more than an hour, his injuries were finally healed. At this moment, Forge the Universe continued to expand by about 6 meters, and the water level of the spiritual spring had dropped. After a while, the spirit spring had been decreasing. The dozen daggers that appeared in front of Han Fei consumed nearly 500,000 points of spiritual energy. However, to Han Fei's great joy, they were all spiritual weapons. How much would it cost if it was sold in the Linglong Tower? Han Fei grabbed a random one, and the data appeared. Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers forged from the bones of the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon. The blade contained extreme coldness. Once pierced by this blade, it could instantly freeze the enemy's blood vessels and meridians. Lower-grade spiritual weapon unknown. Due to the limited forging materials, it can be cast into a lower-quality spiritual weapon at most. Han Fei took a deep breath. It seemed to be very strong. What did soul possession mean? Han Fei didn't understand. He had never touched spiritual weapons before, and this was the first time he had refined one. If it weren't for this massive amount of spiritual spring, he wouldn't have the capital to refine spiritual weapons. There was still a lot of spiritual spring in Forge the Universe. This time, Han Fei didn't hold back. Since I can't beat the guy outside, I'll suck up all your spiritual spring so that you can't replenish it. Let's see how arrogant you are. Coincidentally, his level 4, low-quality spiritual heritage didn't seem to reach the average progress of Lu Rinquang and the others. Even Zhang Xuanyu had a level 6 spiritual heritage, and he was just a level 4, low-quality one. He really had to continue to improve. Upgrade. Suddenly, Han Fei's body seemed to become a bottomless pit, and a large amount of spiritual spring poured into it. When his level 3 spiritual heritage broke through to level 4, Han Fei didn't consume any spiritual energy, but was smashed by lightning. Now he took the initiative to break through, and the spiritual energy consumed was far more than the original 200,000 points. At this moment, each minor level required 500,000 points of spiritual energy. After a long time, when Han Fei consumed 1,000,000 points of spiritual energy and upgraded his spiritual heritage to level 4, high quality, the upgrade sign disappeared. Owner Han Fei, level greater than 26, intermediate great fishing master, spiritual energy greater than 122,561, 2499, spiritual heritage level 4, high quality, spiritual beast, twin yin-yang spirit swallowing fish, weapon, non-major gong fa. Water vein technique, volume 3 of void fishing. After reading the data, Han Fei grinned with joy. His spiritual heritage was probably affected and couldn't be upgraded anymore. But his spiritual energy reserve increased. When Han Fei opened his eyes, there were already more than 40 blue sea wandering dragon daggers floating in front of him. What shocked him was that the spiritual spring that had filled Forge the Universe was only 1 meter deep at this moment. Of course, this was also related to the expansion of Forge the Universe. At this moment, Forge the Universe had expanded to a radius of 100 meters, and it was still expanding. Han Fei said, "Stop expanding." Han Fei was a bit annoyed. He thought that the spiritual spring that filled Forge the Universe could last for a long time. But how long had it been? Did it even have 6 hours? Han Fei calculated in his heart. It cost him 1,000,000 points of spiritual energy to upgrade his spiritual heritage, nearly 2,000,000 points of spiritual weapons, and nearly 400,000 points of spiritual energy in Forge the Universe, plus the spiritual energy stored in his body and absorbed by the demon purification pod. Han Fei gasped. 5,000,000 points of spiritual energy were gone just like that. Han Fei was speechless. Everything stopped. He didn't need to continue to consume the spiritual spring. He had to find a chance to go out and store the rest of the spiritual spring. However, God knew if the guy outside had become a mummy by now. To be on the safe side, Han Fei began to activate the Million Knife Art. He thought that it would take him at least a year or even 2 years to get enough resources to build a knife array, but he didn't expect the accident to come so soon. Of course, before he activated the knife array, he had to let the spiritual weapon recognize him as its master first. The water-stirring seal was not a spiritual weapon, so it still needed to be recognized by blood. As a spiritual weapon, it was inevitable. Han Fei grabbed a knife and rubbed it in his palm. Although there was a slight obstruction, his skin was still easily cut. This made Han Fei immediately think of something. Before, he had never fought with people who used spiritual weapons, so he didn't know how powerful spiritual weapons were. But now he knew. No matter how strong his body was, he still couldn't resist it. Similar to the water-stirring seal, after a spiritual weapon recognized its master, it could be stored in the body at any time. But Han Fei didn't know where it was stored. Anyway, his body was strong, and he didn't feel the slightest discomfort. After a while, Han Fei collected all the 50 blue sea wandering dragon daggers into his body. Han Fei tried it. When the 50 daggers flew out at the same time, they all fell to the ground with a clatter. Only 5 or 6 of them could still fly. Han Fei frowned. What's the meaning of this? Is this kind of gong fa so difficult to practice? 2 hours later, Han Fei could control 10 daggers at the same time. He stopped practicing. He seemed to have encountered a bottleneck. It seemed to consume a bit of mental power, that was spiritual power, and he couldn't be distracted. It's time to go out. Inside the cave, the young man who had no enemies had now become middle-aged. The spiritual spring was extracted, making his body shrink. Swish! Han Fei appeared and stood where he had just disappeared. And 3 meters away from him, the man didn't move. Damn. Han Fei immediately flew to the spiritual spring. Come back. The remaining less than half of the spring disappeared in the blink of an eye. Huh. The man behind him chased up and punched again, shaking the cave. Han Fei chuckled. He quickly rushed to the dragon bone that was stuck in the wall and pulled it out. At the same time, 10 blue sea wandering dragon daggers appeared beside him. Swish, swish, Swish! The daggers broke through the air, and the power of spiritual weapons suddenly appeared. Although they were knocked away by the man's fists, the daggers directly froze his arms. Of course, the ice seemed to be nothing to him, and he shattered it with a wave of his hand. The blue sea wandering dragon daggers flew all over the sky, chasing after the man and slashing crazily. Unfortunately, even spiritual weapons couldn't break this man's defense. Han Fei shouted as he ran, "Bro, stop fighting. You've lost your IQ. Brother, let's each take a step back, okay? Let me go out, and you can continue to sit here." Chapter 194. If this man could speak, he would have been infuriated by Han Fei. "Did you take away all my spiritual spring? What the hell am I supposed to do?" Han Fei was not familiar with the million knife art. From time to time, some knives would fall to the ground, but this didn't affect him. The chill of the knives did affect the man, giving Han Fei some time to find a way out. The nine-tailed mantis shrimp was released. Han Fei shouted, "Nine-tailed mantis shrimp, dig a hole for me. Dig out those mystic stones." The nine-tailed mantis shrimp dug a hole, and Han Fei ran fast. Even with the blue sea wandering dragon daggers blocking the man, the latter was still very fast and almost hit Han Fei several times. About half an hour later, the nine-tailed mantis shrimp had just crushed a mystic stone. With a loud bang, the door was blasted away from the outside. By the way, the nine-tailed mantis shrimp was also blasted away, dumbfounded. Han Fei took back the nine-tailed mantis shrimp and looked at the door while running. "Han Fei, I knew you wouldn't die. Come here." Liu Kwang raised his hands and greeted him, his eyes swollen. Xia Xiaochan also jumped and waved her hand. "Han Fei, get out of the way." With a thought, Han Fei stepped on the rock wall and dodged the man's attack by a hair's breadth. At the same time, the blue sea wandering dragon daggers flowed into Han Fei's hand like water and then merged into his body. At the door, Wen Rinyu, Zhang Xuanyu, and Luo Xiaobai all breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. Wen Rinyu shouted, "Han Fei, get out of the way." Sword slash. As Wen Rinyu shouted, countless grass-green leaves appeared out of thin air in all directions. But it was these leaves that cut the void, leaving countless white marks in the air. Clang, clang, clang. In the blink of an eye, the man was slashed more than 100 times. The man waved his fist fiercely, and a ripple could be seen breaking through the air. Wen Rinyu sneered, "Dead is dead. Who do you think you're trying to defy the heavens and change your fate?" Wen Rinyu walked forward gracefully. Behind her and under her feet, thousands of leaves turned into swords and slashed the ripple directly. Not only that, in the blink of an eye, it was as if thousands of swords had stabbed into the man's body, causing him to retreat step by step. His skin was cut open all over his body, but not a single drop of blood flowed out. Roar! Noisy! Sunset sword slash. Wen Rinyu stomped her foot, and a field of red sword grass appeared in front of her. As soon as the leaf appeared, the mountain trembled and the surrounding spiritual energy was sucked dry. Xiao! Rumble! Under Han Fei's shocked gaze, the man's chest was torn open, and all his internal organs were cut into pieces. Han Fei subconsciously scratched his head. Isn't this too fierce? The man was beaten to the point where he couldn't even fight back. In the blink of an eye, he was covered with cuts and bruises. Is this the strength of our school's teachers? Wasn't this a little too much? Sword grass like on. At this moment, a lot of sword grass grew out of the man's body. As Wen Rinyu clenched her fist, the man's body exploded with a bang, and a large hole appeared in his chest. The huge impact forced them to take 5 or 6 steps back. Seeing that the man was killed by Wen Rinyu, Zhang Xuanyu and the others hurried forward. "Fei, not bad. How did you survive?" His eyes bloodshot, Liu Kwang roared at Han Fei. "Han Fei, do you really think you're invincible? How do you kick me out?" Xia Xiaochan looked at Han Fei weirdly. "How did you survive?" Luo Xiaobai said, "The spiritual spring is gone." Han Fei said, "It's a long story. I'll explain it to you later. I think this place is about to collapse." Wen Rinyu suddenly said, "He's not dead yet." The Rinda crowd was shocked. They looked at the pile of rocks and saw that there was indeed a hand struggling in there. Han Fei asked in shock, "What is this thing exactly? It's still not dead?" Wenren said, "He refined himself into an undead creature, but he didn't succeed. You go first. I'll catch up later." Luo Xiaobai pulled Han Fei and walked out. This expedition was too risky. They thought that the treasures in the level 2 fishery wouldn't be too scary, but what they encountered almost killed them. A moment later, on a fishing boat on the surface of the sea, Wenren stood on the bow of the boat with an awful face. "You're just a bunch of baichi. You knew that there were dragon bones there, but you still dared to come to the end. A treasure trove of such a level is beyond your ability. Do you know that? Fortunately, this fire cloud cave is built in the level 2 fishery. If it were in a level 3 fishery, any mutant creature in it would have been enough to make you suffer. The more dangerous ones might have killed you." Luo Xiaobai said in embarrassment, "Master, we were wrong." Han Fei asked, "Master, why are you here?" Wenren scoffed. "Humph. To protect you, of course. I thought that you were just out to catch exotic creatures, but you didn't come back after hours. I want to look for you, but you were nowhere to be found. If Xiaochan hadn't broken through the earth veins with the giant arowana, I wouldn't have been able to find you. You would have been dead for sure." Han Fei smiled awkwardly. "Master, how strong was that man? I wouldn't have survived until now if he didn't only have his instinctive consciousness." Wenren said indifferently, "What kind of strength can an undying being that's neither dead nor alive have? But his physical strength is still at the level of a beginner, hidden fisher." Then Wenren looked at Han Fei as if she wanted to see a flower in his eyes. How did Han Fei survive? The others also looked at Han Fei. Not to mention the physical strength of a hidden fisher. They couldn't even resist a hanging fisher. Han Fei's body was strong enough to resist a dangling fisher. But a hidden fisher, Han Fei said, "Don't think too much." In fact, for a while, he blasted the channel out again. Wenren looked at Han Fei. "Did you find the dragon head?" Han Fei wanted to deny it, but on second thought, he seemed to have been seen through, so he could only nod. "I was lucky. I found the dragon head and encountered a mutant dragon eel." Wenren nodded. "Okay, everyone has their own opportunities. Don't talk about it if you don't want to. However, next time you encounter an unknown treasure trove, don't take the risk of entering it. At least tell me." Han Fei nodded. "Of course." Although the dragon head was exposed, Wenren didn't ask again, and he was relieved. This matter couldn't stand the investigation. Besides, the dragon head was not complete now. 50 blue sea wandering dragon daggers had been refined. If refining was involved, it would be even more troublesome. After this adventure, Han Fei's pride was gone. A great fishing master was too weak. Even if he used all his trump cards, he was still no match for a punch. This was just the physical strength of a hidden fisher, not to mention Wenren who appeared later. With a flip of her hand, a hidden fisher was blown up. Such a powerful teacher had actually appeared in an academy in the town. Han Fei took a deep breath. The 4th academy might be stronger than he thought. Wenren changed the topic and then asked, "I already know how your research on spiritual beasts is going, but I asked you to study the true meaning of fishing. How is your research going?" Lu Renquang muttered, "Teacher, I really don't understand the true meaning." Zhang Xuanyu said bitterly, "Teacher, I think treasure hunting is the true meaning." Smack! Wenren knocked Zhang Xuanyu's head with a fishing rod. Is there such a treasure today? Han Fei actually wanted to say the same thing, but seeing that Zhang Xuanyu was beaten up, he just shut up. Xia Xiaochan blinked. "Teacher, why don't you demonstrate it? It's a bit difficult for us to comprehend it ourselves." Han Fei nodded. "I agree." Luo Xiaobai didn't say anything, but she also looked at Wenren expectantly. Wenren heaved a long sigh and shook her head. There are countless caves and secret realms like this in the infinite ocean. You think you got great benefits, but in fact you didn't. You risked your life just to get some ordinary things. Do you really think the blue sea wandering dragon bone is so good? Let me tell you, this is not a dragon, but a python. It's far from being a flood dragon. And fishing is the eternal theme of the infinite ocean. Do you think fishing is not worth learning? With that, Yu drew her fishing rod and threw the hook far away in an instant. The spiritual energy in Yu's hands coiled around the fishing rod, as if she were throwing the hook to the sky. Yu said lightly, "I didn't throw the hook far, hundreds of kilometers away, less than 1,000 kilometers." Wow! All of them were stunned. What did she mean? Less than 1,000 kilometers? You said it wasn't far? Then what's 100 meters when we fish? Are we just playing house? Yu shouted in a low voice. The hook swam in all directions with force, and you can travel 100 kilometers in the blink of an eye. You need to find what you want in this moment and then retract the rod. Hum, hum, hum. The fishing line shone and began to constrict crazily, as if something had been caught. Han Fei was lost for words. What a show. Chapter 195. In the distant sky, everybody looked up, only to see that the fishing rod in Yu's hand was constricting at an unbelievable speed. Dozens of seconds later, a black spot appeared. When they got closer, they saw a red arachnida crab flying over. To be exact, it had been hooked back. Yu was still indifferent. The fishing hook needs to be part of your body, like your hands, fingers, or even eyes. Only in this way can you be a qualified dangling fisher. Sword grass appeared before Yu and slashed at the red spider crab the moment it approached. In the next moment, the spider crab was cut into halves mercilessly, and a cluster of red threads was hooked back. Yu looked to Han Fei. Your fishing rod is made of blood spider silk. Connect it. While everybody looked at her admiringly, Yu jumped to her boat calmly and said to everybody, "Your trial is not over yet, but your main task is to improve your fishing skills. If you find another treasure trove, unless you think you can pass it, let the giant arowana roar and inform me." In the end, Yu looked at everybody. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Your fishing skills have nothing to do with how far you can cast the hook, but with your reflexes and fishing skills. Let's start with the easy ones. Yu left. There was no telling where she went, but everybody knew that she was nearby. Luo Xiaobai said, "Cast as far as possible first." Everybody else cast their rods, and Han Fei caught the fishing line absent-mindedly. He seemed to know Yu's fishing skills. For example, in the process of moving, he could instantly hook the target. Wasn't that his hook kiss or a flash hook? Just now, Yu's technique was similar to the winding snake technique, but it was much more sophisticated than hers. As for how to catch the prey without alerting anyone, the water vein technique seemed to be perfect. When the hook melted into water, it could catch the prey when they least expected it. The only thing that made Han Fei helpless was Yu's speed, which was too fast. How could she cast the hook 1,000 kilometers away in the blink of an eye? Was it some sort of mysterious fishing skill? Suddenly, Han Fei's eyes glittered. Was it a hook technique from the 4th level of void fishing? Han Fei wasn't sure, but he had reason to be suspicious. As he improved his void fishing, his fishing skills were getting better and better. Suddenly, a voice sounded in Han Fei's head. Lu Renquang secretly said, "You almost scared me to death just now. If you die, I'll feel guilty." Han Fei replied telepathically, "Don't curse me. Even if you die, I won't." Then, Xia Xiaochan asked telepathically, "What about the spiritual energy inside? Just now, after teacher broke the door, I didn't see any spirit energy." Han Fei replied, "He was swallowed by the skeleton. Didn't you see that he grew from a handsome young man to a middle-aged man?" Xia Xiaochan was stunned. Is that even possible? But where could such a large pool of spiritual qi go? Han Fei took it? Impossible. Even if the sea-swallowing seashells were filled, they wouldn't be able to hold much. Zhang Xuanyu asked via voice transmission, "Fei Fei, have you mastered the million knife art? I just saw your blade control technique. It seems to be a bit of trash, but it can actually kill that guy. What kind of saber is that?" Han Fei was lost for words. Nagging all day long. That's just an ordinary knife. Zhang Xuanyu obviously didn't believe it. Only Luo Xiaobai didn't talk to Han Fei. The others couldn't hold it in anymore. They kept asking, and Han Fei finally stopped talking to them through voice transmission. Han Fei looked at everyone gloomily. Instead of speaking telepathically, he simply said, "Fishing, stop chattering." You could talk to me when you're as good at fishing as I am. Xia Xiaochan asked, how good are your fishing skills? Zhang Xuanyu nodded. Yes, yes. Why don't you catch a spider crab too? Luren Kuang nodded. I'm not bragging. Why don't you try? Han Fei pulled the connected fishing line and snorted. Watch me. Let me show you how I can cross 1,000 meters in the blink of an eye. Han Fei blushed. Yes, wondering you could cross 1,000 kilometers in the blink of an eye, but he couldn't. Swish! The fishing hook was thrown out and fell into the water in everyone's sight. Han Fei's hands shook rhythmically as if he had a card up his sleeve. Zhang Xuanyu asked, Fei Fei, can you do it? You're not as strong as teacher. Han Fei said, don't talk. In the water, Han Fei could clearly sense the creatures within 5 meters of the fishing hook. He couldn't see any further. Suddenly, Han Fei smiled. Let me catch a treasure-digging fish for you. Luren Kuang said, no, let's not brag. Han Fei scoffed. Are you kidding me? Watch carefully. In the water, the fishing hook and fishing line seemed to turn into seawater. In an instant, Flash Hook was activated and a wandering treasure-digging fish was hooked. Retrieve. Han Fei withdrew the fishing hook. In 2 seconds, the fishing hook broke out of the water and a treasure-digging fish was hanging on it. Everyone, including Luo Xiaobai, was dumbfounded. Is this for real? Was it luck or strength? Xia Xiaochan's eyes widened. How did you do it? Luren Kuang said, I don't think so. Why don't you try catching another one? Han Fei's face darkened. Do you think I can conjure fish out of thin air? There happened to be a treasure-digging fish down there, so I caught it. Luren Kuang asked, then how did you know there was a treasure-digging fish down there? Can you also have a second vision like Zhang Xuanyu? Han Fei said, infuse your spiritual power into the fishing rod and feel it. You just need to feel the scene within a few meters of the fishing hook. Zhang Xuanyu was shocked. So, it's a second vision? No, I have to attach myself to the fish to have a second vision. You're telling me that you attach yourself to the fishing hook? Luo Xiaobai asked. How do you infuse your spiritual power into the fishing rod? Luo Xiaobai trusted Han Fei. After all, no matter how strong Wenren was, if she couldn't see underwater, how could she know what she was fishing for? Even Wenren herself was very surprised at this moment. Did Han Fei learn it so quickly? Was it possible? Her reaction was similar to Luren Kuang's. When she first learned this kind of perception, it took her more than half a year, almost a year. But Han Fei succeeded on his first try? Xia Xiaochan asked, is that so? Xia Xiaochan seemed to have understood something. She cast the hook and used a completely different method from Han Fei. However, the fishing line was indeed sliding quickly. After a while, a yellow-boned fish was caught. As soon as the yellow-boned fish came up, it shot a mouthful of golden air at Xia Xiaochan, but she cut it with a knife. Xia Xiaochan said, no, I can only see the size of a palm at most. How can I see a few meters? In the distance, Wenren staggered. Are these two people demons? Spiritual vision was completely different from real vision. It was a kind of detection and perception. But these two succeeded on their first try? Of course, except for Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan. The other 3 people, including Luo Xiaobai, were all dumbfounded. Luren Kuang asked, well, isn't the spiritual power in your head? How can it go to the fishing hook? Xia Xiaochan said, it's just to concentrate and release it as spiritual energy. Zhang Xuanyu asked, is it so simple? Let me try. After a while, Zhang Xuanyu pulled the fishing rod back and forth, looking confused. Wait, my spiritual power can leave my body. Why can't I see it? Luo Xiaobai was also trying. I can't see it either. Luren Kuang said, spiritual power is such a mysterious thing that he still doesn't know how to use it. Not to mention transmitting it to the fishing hook. Han Fei said quietly, try it a few more times. Just as Xia Xiaochan said, throw them out like spiritual energy. Chapter 196. While fishing, Han Fei and the others drove the fishing boat back to the level 2 fishery. The level 2 fishery was very large, and there were many commendable weird places in it. Han Fei and the others spent 7 days circling the level 2 fishery while recording the places that others didn't want to go to. Zhang Xuanyu wrote with a fish-skin notebook, This is a coral reef with an average depth of 98 meters. It's said that there's a special fish here called the moon-watching eel. Because the water is shallow, there's plenty of light. These moon-watching eels can swallow the essence of the moon, but they're not kind. It's said that they're highly poisonous. Han Fei remembered the complete collection of spiritual plants in the infinite ocean. Moon-watching eels swallow the essence of the moon to gather poison. Moon spirit fruits are often found in their nests, which are not only non-toxic but also detoxifying, so they're often used to make the best detoxifying pills. If taken directly, the effect will be greatly reduced, but can also increase the body's resistance to poison. Xia Xiaochan asked curiously, "Are there any treasures?" Zhang Xuanyu looked at the fish-skin notebook solemnly. "I don't know. I only know that the moon-watching eels are aggressive and territorial, but they don't seem to pose any threat to us." Han Fei said, "Let's learn more about the moon spirit fruit. It can resist little whites, paralyzing venom." Xia Xiaochan's eyes glittered. "Then let's fish. It doesn't feel good to be poisoned." Xia Xiaochan recalled the poisoning incident in the Blue Sea Arena. At that time, her face turned purple and ugly. Luo Xiaobai frowned. "Moon spirit fruit? Where did you hear that?" Han Fei shrugged. "You don't know anything about it. You can find it in the Encyclopedia of Spiritual Plants." Lu Renkuang immediately exclaimed, "I've read that book. It's too much information for me to read." "You've read it all?" Gloating, Han Fei thought to himself, "You'll be scared to death if I tell you. I've memorized it in a day." Zhang Xuanyu, however, said uninterestedly, "It doesn't sound special. Fruits that can increase poison immunity can be bought." Xia Xiaochan glared at him. "Is it free?" Luo Xiaobai nodded. "Let's try fishing." Everyone began to cast hooks. After 7 days, except for Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan, only Zhang Xuanyu had touched the threshold. Luo Xiaobai and Lu Renkuang were still indifferent. In a fresh and refined way, it was a blind bait. Han Fei was the only one who could see where the fish hook passed without any obstruction. As he retracted his rod, he caught an abalone the size of a wash basin. Xia Xiaochan and Luo Xiaobai stepped back in disgust. Lu Renkuang asked, "Huh? Is this an earfish? How rare?" However, it was said that it did not have much combat power and was only relatively rare. Because it's too ugly, it's said that even fish don't eat it. Xia Xiaochan said in disdain, "It's so ugly. I thought you caught a moon-watching eel. What do you know? This thing is very precious. I've never seen it before. I didn't expect to see it here. Let's start with me today. I'll make an abalone feast for you." Zhang Xuanyu was puzzled. "What banquet?" "The abalone banquet is delicious and unparalleled." Lu Renkuang immediately leaned close. "Better than barbecue?" Han Fei smiled mysteriously. "That depends on my cooking skills." Lu Renkuang rubbed his hands happily. "I believe you." "Ha ha, I haven't eaten an ear fish yet. I'm going to try it today." Xia Xiaochan said in disgust, "I don't want it. It's ugly." Luo Xiaobai said, "Me, forget it." Zhang Xuanyu scoffed. "You're just a bunch of people who don't take your training seriously. Look at me. I guarantee that you'll be able to perceive spiritual vision in 10 days. Half an hour later, the fishing boat was fragrant and the pieces of abalone were steaming in the pot. Han Fei and Lu Renkuang sat in front of the big pot and smacked their lips. Han Fei asked, "Are you really not going to eat it?" Xia Xiaochan, Zhang Xuanyu, and Luo Xiaobai all swallowed. "Can such an ugly thing be so fragrant?" Xia Xiaochan even wiped her saliva. Lu Renkuang didn't mind at all. I'll eat it." The fat man picked up a piece of abalone and stuffed it into his mouth. The fat on his face trembled with the hot abalone that had just been taken out of the pot. That look of enjoyment on his face, if one didn't know better, they would think that he was floating. "Delicious," Lu Renkuang shouted, his eyes glowing and his mouth oily. The others were all drooling. Zhang Xuanyu withdrew his fishing rod and said solemnly, "I don't think we're in a hurry to fish. Let me try it too." Xia Xiaochan sat in front of the pot. "What's ugly? If it's cooked, you can't tell what it is at all. Anyway, I'll just eat it." Luo Xiaobai struggled for a while. "Since everyone has eaten it, let's eat it." "What to eat? Wasn't it all about eating?" "Then," Xia Xiaochan smiled. "It's delicious." Han Fei, Let's eat it again tonight. Zhang Xuanyu agreed. Those people only care about Xiu. I despise people who don't know how to live. Lu Renquang said anxiously, Hey, don't take it. It's mine, it's mine. Luo Xiaobai's eyes flickered, and she looked at Han Fei in a daze. Where did this guy learn his culinary skills? What kind of food could become so delicious in his hands? After a hearty meal, they continued to wander in this area of the coral reefs. Their purpose was not to catch the moon-watching eels, but to practice fishing skills. At least, the fishing skills attached to Han Fei's void fishing art were far better than others. Lian Gong, FA fishing skills. The only pity was that each time he cast the hook, he could only cast it down a kilometer at most. Han Fei was quite surprised that Xia Xiaochan could perceive the spiritual vision for the first time. FA was definitely not ordinary. However, did the Heavenly Water Town have such a technique? FA. Han Fei didn't think so. If there was, it would definitely not be unknown. Besides, he had never seen two spiritual beasts in his life. Then, Xia Xiaochan's origin was worth considering. And Zhang Xuanyu, it was said that he came from another town. His FA was obviously not the most ordinary true spirit fishing art. Then this was also a fated chance. Besides, he could leave his body with his spirit, which Han Fei couldn't do anyway. As for Luo Xiaobai, she had always been mysterious. As for Lu Renquang, although he was a foodie, his crazy heritage explained everything. Now it seemed that none of his teammates seemed to be ordinary. The point was that he happened to meet them. Was it coincidence or luck? The seventh day, it was evening, the sun was half setting, and the sky was covered in rosy clouds. On the fishing boat, the 5 people were fishing very seriously. Suddenly, Zhang Xuanyu shouted in a low voice, I see it. As Zhang Xuanyu's hand shook, he picked up a singing conch. Everyone looked at the source of the sound, only to see Zhang Xuanyu grinning from ear to ear. I see it. I knew I would succeed in 10 days. Xia Xiaochan was curious. How far can you see? Less than half a foot. Xia Xiaochan let out a sigh of relief. Keep working hard. I can already see half a meter. Zhang Xuanyu, Luo Xiaobai, and Lu Renquang. Lu Renquang was anxious and ran to Han Fei. Can you teach me? Why can't I see? I've been working very hard. Han Fei stretched out his hand and pinched Lu Renquang's belly. The latter quickly took a step back. Why did you pinch me? Han Fei said, I pinched you and you felt pain. This is called a nerve reflex. In other words, it's called spiritual perception. If you don't have spiritual power, you may not even feel this pain. Just treat the fishhook as your own flesh and try it. Lu Renquang was stunned. Treat the fishing line and the fishhook as flesh? Han Fei started to talk nonsense. He didn't know if he was right or not, but he felt that it was quite right. Touch comes from the heart. Wherever the heart thinks, there will be a response. Han Fei put on an unfathomable look and pretended to be a pretentious guy. However, as soon as he said that, Xia Xiaochan said in his mind, So, you actually don't know what's going on, do you? Han Fei replied, This kind of thing can only be understood, not explained. What if a few words of advice are useful? Lu Renquang scratched his head and went back to think. Luo Xiaobai was also deep in thought. At night, there were 3 moons in the sky. Since he learned the water vein technique, Han Fei no longer had to worry about other fish disturbing him. Suddenly, Han Fei's eyes lit up. The moon-watching eel? Chapter 197. This was an unexpected surprise. The group had been fishing in the coral reefs for 7 to 8 days, but they hadn't seen a single moon-gazing eel. In the end, they ran into each other. It was a gigantic eel. Its head was more than a meter long, and its body was thicker than Lu Renquang's thigh. As it breathed in and out, the water rippled. In the next moment, a water ripple entered the moon-gazing eel's mouth. Rise! Xiaobai, help tie him up. Everyone saw Han Fei suddenly roar. Before he realized what was going on, a big fish nearly 6 or 7 meters long was swung to the surface of the sea. Zhang Xuanyu exclaimed, Moon-gazing eel? Suddenly, dozens of vines darted out of the water and wrapped around the moon-watching eel. But in the next moment, all the vines began to change color and wither. Luo Xiaobai wasn't afraid. She broke free and swept up the vines again. At the same time, a paralyzing poison seeped out of the vines. For a moment, the moon-watching eel became a huge source of poison. Zhang Xuanyu shouted, "Cut off its head. Let's not eat the meat. There's a full moon pearl in its head, which can help with Xiu. The pearls used to cultivate eye techniques are priceless." Han Fei was not interested in the bead. What he was interested in was the spiritual fruit. Poison was terrifying, but it had little to do with your physical strength. Xia Xiaochan was paralyzed by Su Yebai's poison. However, Han Fei still obeyed Zhang Xuanyu's words and threw out 2 daggers, one at the head of the moon-watching eel and the other at the top of its head. In the blink of an eye, the moon-watching eel was killed, and a huang fell to the ground. Se's bead was caught by the vine and sent back. Plop! The moon-gazing eel's corpse fell into the sea. Han Fei said, "I'm going down to pick the moon's spirit fruits." As soon as Han Fei jumped into the sea, dozens of knives appeared around him and minced the strip fish and yellow-boned fish around him in the blink of an eye. Han Fei's purpose was clear, which was to dig out the moon-watching eel's hole. This kind of marine creature that didn't live in groups wouldn't have anything else in the cave. "Blackie, bring the fruit out for me." A few minutes later, Han Fei broke out of the water, holding a fist-sized yellow in his hand. "Say fruit?" Xia Xiaochan asked. "Just one." Han Fei was amused. "Maybe there's only one moon-watching eel." Han Fei waved a knife in his hand, and the fruit was divided into 5 portions. "Let's share it." It wasn't anything particularly good. However, if I were to encounter a poison expert, I might be able to resist a little. Everyone was very straightforward. He took it and stuffed it into his mouth. Luo Xiaobai handed the moon-watching pearl to Han Fei. But this kind of person, eye techniques were useless to Han Fei. He asked casually, "Who wants Xiu? Was he here to cultivate ocular techniques?" "I don't need it." Luren Kuang asked, "Huh? Don't all spirit gatherers need Xiu? Cultivating ocular techniques? I've already mastered it, and I don't fight with my eyes. This thing is useless to me." Everyone shook their heads. There was no one here. He was practicing ocular techniques. Luo Xiaobai said, "You can sell in the Linglong Tower or exchange it for something you need. Keep it." Things that were not considered treasures to the crowd were not like that outside. For those who needed it, especially those who needed Xiu. For someone who cultivated eye techniques, this lunar gazing pearl was priceless. For Han Fei, this was just a small interlude. While fishing, he also looked for fantasy creatures. There were already 3 big shots in the demon purification pot, and he wanted to find 1 or 2 more. Would he be able to fuse a spiritual beast stronger than the 9-tailed mantis shrimp? Another half a month passed in a flash. When Han Fei encountered a fantasy creature, he asked the others to catch it together. But this time that thing actually knew how to dig a hole, and it managed to slip away. However, in the past half a month, they had basically fished all the creatures in the level 2 fishery. They caught a lot of rare creatures and fed them all to Little Black and the 9-tailed mantis shrimp. During this period, they also met a lot of people in the level 2 fishery, some of whom knew Han Fei and the others, and some intended to rob them. But seeing that there were 5 people on a fishing boat, most people gave up the idea. A team of 3 people, seeing that Han Fei and the others were still young, clamored to rob them. However, before Han Fei could do anything, the others all said they wanted to try their contractual spiritual beasts. Almost in the blink of an eye, the 3 of them collapsed, and their contractual spiritual beasts were all killed. If Luo Xiaobai hadn't said that they were just refining weapons and not killing people, the 3 of them would have become fishdom. On this day, it had been nearly a month since Han Fei and the others arrived in the level 2 fishery. Luo Xiaobai and Luren Kuang still hadn't comprehended spiritual vision, which at least proved that not everyone was talented in this ability. Zhang Xuanyu did it because of his strong spiritual power, which was related to the bloodthirsty shark he awakened. Zhang Xuanyu nodded. "Well, I have a general understanding of a level 2 fishery in the Blue Sea Town. This month, a total of 38 dangerous places have been circled. Among them, there were 21 that everyone knew about and had explored. The remaining 17 places are slightly more dangerous. Do you want to go?" Luren Kuang nodded. "Yes, I don't want to fish anymore. I can't catch anything without bait." Up to now, my spiritual power can only shake the hook a few times, let alone spiritual vision. Han Fei nodded. I have no objection. But, Zhang Xuanyu, can you narrow down the range a little more? How long do we have to run for 17 places? Zhang Xuanyu smiled. I knew you would say that. I divided 13 of these 17 places into relatively less dangerous places. People have tried to explore the other 4 places, but they all died. Xia Xiaochan asked, Where? Zhang Xuanyu stared at the fish-skin notebook and said, The piercing electricity zone, with a large number of piercing electricity jellyfish. The stone forest is said to be inhabited by stone spirit crabs that live in the stones, and the stone spirit crabs will store spiritual energy in their nests. Therefore, the stones are very suitable for forging weapons. Some people have wrist mining there, but few have survived. Zhang Xuanyu continued while flipping through the fish-skin notebook. The other 2 are more famous. One is the deep-sea jungle, which is covered with countless vegetation. Many times, they are entangled by the vegetation on the seabed before they can dive deep. It is said that a dangling fisher once went in and didn't come out. The other is even more dangerous, called the Fiery Mountain. According to the records, even great fishing masters will die if they go there. So far, no great fishing master has come back alive from there. Han Fei was shocked. The Fiery Mountain? Luo Xiaobai said, It's a gathering place of fiery corals. It's said to be a kind of weird coral. Han Fei took a long breath in relief when he heard that it was a kind of coral. He thought that he had arrived at the Bull Demon King's hometown. Xia Xiaochan asked, So, which of these 4 places is the least dangerous? Zhang Xuanyu closed the fish-skin notebook. The piercing electricity zone. This place has the highest chance of coming back alive. Lu Renquang said, Don't compare us with ordinary great fishing masters. Do you think we can do it? If we can't, let's not go to these 4 places. Let's go to the other 13 places. Zhang Xuanyu said, I think the piercing electricity zone is worth a try. Han Fei thought it was worth a try. Then let's go to the piercing electricity zone. Only dangerous places have treasures. The other places have been explored by others. We can only pick up the leftovers. If we want to go, let's go where others dare not go. Xia Xiaochan chuckled. Han Fei, you've forgotten the pain now that you've recovered, haven't you? Lu Renquang rolled his eyes quickly. Why don't we go to the other 13 places? Zhang Xuanyu snorted. The other places are boring. Indeed, some people have already explored them. Although there may still be some spiritual fruits, for us now, the effect of an ordinary spiritual fruit is not as good as before. Luo Xiaobai shook her head slightly. Spiritual fruits are still very important. With spiritual fruits, the success rate can be increased by at least 20%. Han Fei had an idea. Let's vote by show of hands. Those who think we can explore the piercing electricity zone, raise your hand. Swish, 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 except for Luo Xiaobai and Lu Renquang. The other 3 raised their hands. Han Fei said with a smile, 3-2. The path of cultivation is against the law of nature. The level 2 fishery can't even withstand the wind and waves. When we reach the level 3 fishery, we won't dare to go anywhere, right? With that, Han Fei and Zhang Xuanyu raised their hands and even clapped, as if they appreciated each other. Lu Renquang rolled his eyes. Wait, have you forgotten what happened in the Fire Cloud Cave? Xia Xiaochan said proudly. Ordinary fishermen are not afraid of death. We go to sea every day. What are we afraid of? Let's go. Zhang Xuanyu shouted. Let's go. Han Fei shouted. Let's go. Chapter 198. The piercing electricity jellyfish was not a rare jellyfish in the level 2 fishery, but because the jellyfish community was too large, there were always a few mutant, rare, and even exotic jellyfish. In ancient times, there were even legendary piercing electricity jellyfish. In the ocean, jellyfish were like umbrellas and mushrooms, especially the piercing electricity jellyfish. This kind of jellyfish could generate electricity. However, some people said that the piercing electricity jellyfish were cute and playful. When Han Fei arrived at the piercing electricity zone, he could always see a few dead piercing electricity jellyfish floating on the surface of the sea. Even though they were dead, Their blue hats were still very beautiful. Luren Kuang swallowed. Should we go straight down? Zhang Xuanyu shook his head. Don't rush. This is just the edge area. Let's go down to the central area. Luren Kuang was lost for words. I'm told that the jellyfish groups are huge, with thousands or even more. Zhang Xuanyu said casually. What are you afraid of? Your 1,000-blade tortoise can crush them in minutes. Xiaobai's vines can also easily protect us. Xia Xiaochan can also flash. It's me and Han Fei who have to worry about melee combat, okay? Han Fei clicked his tongue and said, Don't worry about me. I can control water. Zhang Xuanyu. Everybody discussed and went straight into the water. As soon as they entered the water, they felt that something was wrong. In other places, they could basically see fish as long as they entered the water. However, there were very few fish here. After diving more than 10 meters, they saw a bone-piercing fish swimming past them unhurriedly. Also, it didn't mean to attack them. The 5 of them stared at the fish like fools, watching it come and leave. Luo Xiaobai said, Be careful, everybody. It's not a dangerous place. Slow down. Everybody nodded. After diving for about 50 meters, they saw a piercing electricity jellyfish with a blue hat and white stripes floating slowly in the water. There were only a few of them 10 meters up and down, so nobody was scared. Everybody deliberately surrounded it. After all, they had never been to the level 2 fishery and had never seen a piercing electricity jellyfish in the ocean. A string of data flashed in Han Fei's eyes. Piercing electricity jellyfish 25 common 250 points long-term consumption can increase one's resistance to electricity. None. Han Fei remained calm, and Zhang Xuanyu leaned 2 meters away to take a closer look. In the end, the piercing electricity jellyfish seemed to notice something coming and automatically floated over. The small umbrella opened and closed, dragging a long tail behind it. It was very beautiful. Under everyone's gaze, the piercing electricity jellyfish slowly turned around, showing no intention to attack. It even wanted to rub its head against Zhang Xuanyu. It's so cute. Can I touch it? Luo Xiaobai said, Don't, before Luo Xiaobai finished. When Xia Xiaochan's hand touched the piercing electricity jellyfish, an electric current hit Xia Xiaochan with a crack, making her tremble all over with an explosive sound. Xia Xiaochan quickly stepped back. As a result, the piercing electricity jellyfish rubbed its cute head against where Xia Xiaochan had just been. Finding that he missed her, electric currents flashed in his small eyes, and he chased after Xia Xiaochan. Xia Xiaochan was shocked. Go away, you electrifying monster. Everybody saw that Xia Xiaochan was hiding, and the piercing electricity jellyfish chased her unhurriedly. Now and then, electric currents emanated from its body, as if it were playing circles with Xia Xiaochan. Han Fei was deep in thought. Jellyfish had eyes, or rather, they were not real eyes. They were primitive visual organs called that eyes. Similar to the compound eyes of insects, they did not have a focal point, but they could sense the changes of light and shadow. However, the piercing electricity jellyfish before him was different from the jellyfish that Han Fei saw in the level 1 fishery. This piercing electricity jellyfish had evolved to have eyes, and it had evolved to have 4 eyes. Han Fei said telepathically, Be careful. The piercing electricity jellyfish have eyes. They can find us with their sight. Xiaochan, kill it. Xia Xiaochan was stunned for a moment. I don't think so. Although it can electrocute people, it's so cute. Han Fei said, Then why don't you try thousands of piercing electricity jellyfish? Xia Xiaochan shivered. 1 jellyfish was enough for her. Thousands of them? Were they going to electrocute her? Xia Xiaochan's dagger flashed, and the piercing electricity jellyfish was cut into pieces and slowly sank. Luren Kuang was confused. They don't seem to attack people actively. Luo Xiaobai said telepathically, No, they're active. However, the piercing electricity jellyfish are too slow, so it looks like it's playing a game with Xia Xiaochan. Xia Xiaochan was stunned. Is that so? I thought that it was just playing a game with me. Everybody continued diving. When they were almost 80 meters deep, they saw a lot of piercing electricity jellyfish. There were hundreds of them at first glance. The deeper they went, the more piercing electricity jellyfish there were. Very soon, everybody's vision was blocked because the jellyfish's tails were too long. Regular jellyfish could even reach 20 to 30 meters long, and regular piercing electricity jellyfish had tails that were 20 to 30 meters long too. Their tails were floating in the water, seriously blocking everybody's vision. When they tried to pass through the swarm of piercing electricity jellyfish, they immediately realized that something was wrong. Luo Xiaobai's face changed greatly. Get away from them. All the jellyfish are approaching us. Zhang Xuanyu made up his mind. Dive down. If we go back, our trip will be in vain. Although the jellyfish were approaching, everybody dived quickly, but the deeper they went, the more shocked they were. There were too many piercing electricity jellyfish, so many that they were practically packed together. Everybody saw that the tails of the jellyfish were almost entangled. An idea occurred to everybody. What if those jellyfish discharged electricity at the same time? Crackle. Almost at the same time as everyone's thoughts, the entire body of water exploded in an instant. Electric currents were surging within 100 meters, and Luo Xiaobai only had time to cover everybody with vines. But how could the vines resist the electric currents in the water? In that instant, everyone began to tremble. They were all electrocuted, their bodies trembling. Woo! 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 Zhang Xuanyu rolled his eyes after being electrocuted. Xiao xiao xiao. Quang quang quang. Like Zhang Xuanyu, Lu Rinquang released the 1,000-blade tortoise while he was electrocuted. 1,000 smoke blades slash shua. 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 Thousands of sabers slashed the piercing electricity jellyfish into pieces. However, the whole water was full of electric currents. Even though the piercing electricity jellyfish were dead, the electric currents didn't disappear immediately. Everybody trembled for a long time, and Zhang Xuanyu finally coughed and vomited blood, followed by Luo Xiaobai. Lu Rinquang was even more exaggerated. His mouth was foaming, and his eyes were rolling. Only Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan were fine. Han Fei seemed to be used to being electrocuted. He had been electrocuted by the dragon eel before. The electric currents of such a large group of piercing electricity jellyfish were not even as powerful as one electric shock from the dragon eel. As for Xia Xiaochan, she was struck by lightning together with Han Fei on the top of the mountain. Although Han Fei ate most of the lightning, it was very conductive. The fact that Xia Xiaochan could withstand it suggested that her physique was extraordinary. At this moment, everybody finally understood why the great fishing masters couldn't make it back alive. Most people would have already fainted from the shock. Lu Rinquang, the fatty, was already foaming at the mouth and rolling his eyes. While shivering, Han Fei performed the divine healing technique. Probably because he was trembling, he couldn't perform the divine healing technique, which made everybody look at him with hidden bitterness. Han Fei said telepathically, "Don't blame me. It's not easy to control the spiritual energy." Outside, the 1,000-blade tortoise was a bit dizzy from the electric shock too. The 1,000-blade slash's momentum was greatly reduced at this moment. It was barely able to hold on for a minute before everyone slowly recovered. Han Fei immediately cast the divine healing technique on them and said telepathically, "Run. What are you waiting for? Fatty, put away your 1,000-blade tortoise and use your own armor, or the 1,000-blade tortoise will be electrocuted." Lu Rinquang suggested, "Why don't we go back?" Everybody raised their head and looked up, only to be gloomy. Go back. The piercing electricity jellyfish were everywhere, and their long tentacles were almost touching their faces. Xia Xiaochan shouted, "Run." Chapter 199. Everyone ran with nimble legs. With a swish, they dived down frantically. Lu Rinquang's torrents of knives and swords even caused a whirlpool in the water, and all the weapons in the armor box were taken out, sweeping all the way. All that was left in the water were pieces of the piercing electricity jellyfish. In just a moment, the entire water area was almost covered by the jellyfish fragments, and translucent jelly-like chunks of flesh were everywhere. Luo Xiaobai was like a tentacle monster, sweeping countless vines and clearing the debris and piercing electricity jellyfish along the way. The water in this area was very deep. The group continued to descend, and they could not see the bottom even after 300 meters. 300 meters was nothing for great fishing masters, not even for fishing masters. However, the piercing electricity jellyfish's territory should have a water layer. At this moment, everyone had already reached the bottom of the water. Han Fei said, "Stop. Fatty, stop stirring. The piercing electricity jellyfish are gone." Lu Renquang put his weapon back. Then, Luo Xiaobai's vines disappeared one after another. Then, everyone saw a miraculous scene. Countless jellyfish that looked like sailboats were floating nearby at some point in time. The moment he saw these jellyfish, a jellyfish that he had seen before, the Portuguese worship jellyfish. How similar. It was just that one was floating on the surface of the sea, while the other was floating under the water. As for the Portuguese battleship jellyfish, it was terrifying. Their tentacles had countless stinging cells, and their venom was not inferior to any venomous snake in the world. More importantly, its tentacles were exceptionally tough. Once entangled, an ordinary person would immediately go into shock. The jellyfish in front of them was even more exaggerated than the Portuguese battleship jellyfish. The tentacles were bottomless, and they were covered with barbs. The data reappeared in his eyes. Name blue-capped jellyfish introduction. Blue hat jellyfish carries an underwater air sac that contains poisonous gas. At the moment of the explosion, the poisonous gas would not form bubbles, but would directly melt into the water, so it could not be easily killed. Level 27 quality. Rare, contains spiritual energy, 640 points, inedible. Can be harvested from blue-capped jellyfish tentacles. Can be used to weave low-level fishing nets. Absorbable. Han Fei raised his eyebrows. This was too much information. Explosion? Rare? Fishing net? There were at least 100 blue hat jellyfish around. The deeper he looked, the more there were. He had never seen so many rare creatures before. Didn't rare creatures always exist alone? However, he didn't have time to think so much at this moment. He immediately transmitted his voice. "Little White, don't let their tentacles entangle us. Fatty, don't stir them. Their air sacs are strange. We'd better keep going down and avoid them." Xia Xiaochan said telepathically, "Their tentacles are coming." Luo Xiaobai quickly controlled the vines to block the tentacles, not giving them a chance to approach. Suddenly, Luo Xiaobai exclaimed, "Their tentacles are poisonous." Xia Xiaochan's shadowless blade slashed down, only to hear a sizzling sound. Although several tentacles were cut off, everyone's expression changed slightly. What kind of hardness was this? Not good. Suddenly, Lu Renquang pointed down. "Look." Everyone looked down one after another. It was a net made up of countless tentacles. They were stacked layer by layer, like layers of infrared rays intertwined together. Luo Xiaobai looked solemn. "I think the real danger is here. If the electric current of the piercing electricity jellyfish can kill an ordinary great fishing master, these blue hat jellyfish can easily entangle a person." Lu Renquang asked, "Do you want me to cut them?" Zhang Xuanyu said, "Try cutting it." Han Fei hurriedly said, "Wait." Everyone looked at Han Fei, who shot a blue sea wandering dragon dagger straight through the umbrella of the blue hat jellyfish. Bam! With a loud explosion, a wave of air rolled and spread out at the bottom of the sea. But to everyone's surprise, after the bubble burst, the gas inside only rose a few meters and then disappeared without a trace. Luo Xiaobai's face changed greatly. "This is a kind of poisonous gas that can dissolve in seawater. We can't strangle them." Xia Xiaochan asked, "Do we just let them surround us? Let's kill them. We just ate the moon spirit fruit." Luo Xiaobai added, "Don't forget, we divided the moon spirit fruit into 5 portions." Han Fei thought for a while and took out a few fruits. "Each of you can eat one exotic poisonous fruit, but it's much less effective than the moon spirit fruit. I don't know if it can block the poison of the blue hat jellyfish." Xia Xiaochan asked, "Is this the spiritual fruit that detoxified me last time?" Han Fei nodded. "This is an exotic poisonous fruit. It can be immune to mortal level poisons. I don't know about the blue hat jellyfish, but we can't be careless. It's easy to kill them, but once this water area is covered by poison, If we can't resist it, we'll be doomed. Suddenly, Luo Xiaobai said to everyone, "Let me do it. Han Fei, give me spiritual energy." Deep blue, vine explosion. Suddenly, a huge flower appeared under Luo Xiaobai's feet. Tens of thousands of vines drilled into the gaps of the tentacle net from all directions. Han Fei poured spiritual energy into Luo Xiaobai's body crazily. After a while, this water area was almost filled with vines. Han Fei and the others were wrapped in vines and couldn't see anything. Clatter. These countless vines suddenly bloomed from top to bottom, like a bud that suddenly opened its petals, forming an inverted conical channel from top to bottom. Luo Xiaobai's face was pale. "Come on, go down." Xia Xiaochan grabbed Luo Xiaobai and quickly went down with the others. Along the way, they saw countless roots of the blue hat jellyfish being torn off, and those vines that formed a circle were changing color at a speed visible to the naked eye, turning dark blue. Luo Xiaobai shouted, "I can't hold it for long. Hurry up." BM, BM, BM. Outside the vines, everyone heard a series of explosions. Did these jellyfish just blow themselves up? Even if they couldn't kill the enemy, they didn't have to blow themselves up. Okay? As the explosions around them gradually subsided, everyone secretly breathed a sigh of relief. But just when everyone thought it was okay, Luo Xiaobai's vines were suddenly torn apart. Everyone's eyes lit up, and then in the next second, they all ran wildly. Luren Kuang said while running, "Little Yu, didn't you say this was the safest place?" "What's that?" Zhang Xuanyu ran even faster than Luren Kuang. "This is a dangerous place. How can it be safe? I'm talking about relative safety." Luo Xiaobai said, "Wait, there's more than one." Yes, everyone saw a super large jellyfish, more than 10 meters long. To be precise, it might be a super large jellyfish close to 20 meters long. More importantly, there was more than one such jellyfish. There were 3 as far as their eyes could see. Han Fei glanced at them and was stunned. Name: soul-attracting jellyfish. Introduction: a soul-gifted creature with powerful soul attack abilities and regenerative abilities. Contains a soul resistance pearl that ignores ordinary soul attacks. Level 31, quality, exotic, contains spiritual energy greater than 1,936 points, edible effect, inettable, collectible, soul resistance pearl, absorbable on the other side. Before Han Fei explained, Zhang Xuanyu had already said, "Come on, find one that's alone. This is my second contractual spiritual beast." Luo Xiaobai said, "We can't dodge the soul attacks of the soul-attracting jellyfish. We can only take them head-on. Let's get out of here first." Xia Xiaochan responded, "I'm invisible. Run." Luren Kuang almost burst into tears. "Why are there so many soul-attracting jellyfish? My spiritual power is not strong." Han Fei asked, "Do you all know that this is a soul-attracting jellyfish?" Zhang Xuanyu, "Of course, the teacher said it in class before. The soul-attracting jellyfish has always been the most realistic legend. Many people have seen them, but I've never heard of anyone catching one." Luren Kuang was helpless. "How can we catch them?" "With one attack, ordinary people will become idiots and their spirits will be destroyed." "How can we catch them?" Zhang Xuanyu replied, "I'm not afraid. I can't resist 3 of them, but I can fight one alone. Help me hunt one first. When it becomes my second contractual spiritual beast, I'll help you get the soul resistance pearl." Chapter 200. There was no telling if it was an illusion, but Han Fei suddenly found that everybody had their own characteristics. Although Luo Xiaobai was a bit cold, she was mature and calm. She had the meticulous thinking and logic of a manipulator. Xia Xiaochan was mysterious and lively. The moment she saw the soul-attracting jellyfish, she chose to go invisible. Han Fei suspected that she was going to kill a soul-attracting jellyfish. As for Zhang Xuanyu, he wasn't scared of the soul-attracting jellyfish at all. Even Luren Kuang could be said to be completely violent in terms of attack. As the few of them were discussing, they suddenly felt like a bolt out of the blue. Their brains were about to explode. Luren Kuang was the first to be hit. He was bleeding from all his facial orifices and vomited. Then he floated in the water and stopped moving. Everybody was shocked to see that. Luo Xiaobai entangled Lu Rinquang with a vine and stuffed him into the vine. There was air for him to breathe in. Luo Xiaobai's face changed greatly. Run! But before Luo Xiaobai ran any further, she covered her head with both hands and rolled in the water. Her usual elegance was completely ruined by a soul attack, and she seemed to have gone crazy. Without saying a word, Zhang Xuanyu ran away with Luo Xiaobai in one hand and the vine that contained Lu Rinquang in the other. He also told Han Fei to run. Han Fei had suffered mental attacks before. Everybody had fought Zhang Xuanyu when they were training in the Thug Academy. However, Zhang Xuanyu's soul attack could only temporarily stop them. Maybe his head was stinging, but Han Fei didn't feel that it was particularly serious. Until Han Fei felt that invisible waves were hitting his head. At that moment, his brain felt like it was about to split open. It was a heart-wrenching pain that was incomparably terrifying. It was not until a few seconds later that the pain gradually weakened. Shoot! Is the soul-attracting jellyfish's attack so strong? Han Fei found, to his surprise, that he had resisted it. Before Han Fei had time to think, he felt a hand grabbing him and running away. Xia Xiaochan was half-hidden. Huh? You can resist the soul-attracting jellyfish's mental attack? Han Fei was stunned. Isn't it a soul attack? It means the same thing. Only those with strong mental power can resist it. As a manipulator, Xiao Bai should be able to block it, but Fatty would not be able to. But you can do it too. Do spirit gatherers also have spiritual talents? Have you forgotten that I practice the million knife art? That's not completely controlling the saber with spiritual energy. After hearing Han Fei's explanation, Xia Xiaochan was relieved. That's right, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with saying that. However, after running for a while, they discovered that there were at least 2 or 3 soul-attracting jellyfish every few kilometers. No one had ever thought that there would be a day when exotic creatures could be found everywhere. Of course, they also understood why few great fishing masters could go back alive when they came down. Even dangling fishers would be in great danger if they were not good at soul or mental attacks. Luo Xiaobai recovered. Stop and find an empty space. Zhang Xuanyu stood in front of me, and I pulled one over by force. Xia Xiaochan said, You pull one, and I'll kill one alone. When the time comes, we'll surround and kill the remaining one. Luo Xiaobai asked, Xiaochan, can you resist it? Xia Xiaochan waved her dagger and said, Of course, at least it can't find me before I take action. After I take action, it won't have a chance. Han Fei said, Xiaochan, if you don't use the supreme stab now, when will you? After all, these soul-attracting jellyfish are all above level 30. Xia Xiaochan nodded and suddenly disappeared. Holding back her discomfort, Luo Xiaobai extended her vines and grabbed a soul-attracting jellyfish. At the same time, Zhang Xuanyu stood in front of Luo Xiaobai, and so did Han Fei. Zhang Xuanyu asked Han Fei, Can you do it? Han Fei rolled his eyes at him. As a man, you can't say no. The soul-attracting jellyfish were not fast. Except for a few jellyfish, most jellyfish were very slow. So, it was easy to catch them. However, the moment the soul-attracting jellyfish was caught, a spiritual blast hit everyone's soul. Zhang Xuanyu's face suddenly turned red, and the bloodthirsty shark suddenly appeared and bombarded the jellyfish with a spiritual wave. BM, invisible forces collided, and the water within 100 meters was surging. Zhang Xuanyu's face was pale, but he survived the attack. Seeing that the soul-attracting jellyfish's first wave of attack was over, Han Fei immediately summoned dozens of blue sea wandering dragon daggers. Hiu, 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 the daggers pierced through the soul-attracting jellyfish in the blink of an eye. But to Han Fei's surprise, although the soul-attracting jellyfish was pierced, the rest of it was intact except for the frozen wound. It was like jelly. Even if you pricked it with a needle, it would still be jelly. Humph! I don't believe it. You can block 10 of my attacks, but can you block 100 or 1,000? Break! To Zhang Xuanyu's and Luo Xiaobai's surprise, Han Fei used his immature million knife art for the first time. Even though it was immature, it was still a terrifying thing to cut the soul-attracting jellyfish crazily with 10 knives. The spiritual attack came again. Zhang Xuanyu's face turned cold, and he attacked again. BM. After 5 consecutive attacks, Zhang Xuanyu vomited a mouthful of blood. A human's spiritual power was limited and needed to rest after it was exhausted. Zhang Xuanyu was almost done. He said to Han Fei telepathically, "Kill it and wake up Lurenquang first. Then his 1,000-blade slash will be more useful." Han Fei nodded. This soul-attracting jellyfish was dying. He was considering if he should ask Zhang Xuanyu to sign a contract with it. However, the current situation didn't allow it. It made sense. If Lurenquang woke up, his ranged attacks would be stronger. This soul-attracting jellyfish was dying, so Han Fei simply rushed out. He was no longer scared. Han Fei simply tore the big jellyfish apart and took out the soul resistance pearl inside. Throwing the pearl to Zhang Xuanyu, Han Fei said, "I'm going to check on Xia Xiaochan." Luo Xiaobai said, "Be careful." Zhang Xuanyu was exhausted and needed a rest, so he didn't stop her. Han Fei swam 1,000 meters away. With a flash between his eyebrows, Little Black and Little White appeared. Han Fei pointed at a soul-attracting jellyfish not far away and said, "Little Black, bite through it and pick up a pearl for me." Little Hay darted out in a flash. It was rather dumbfounded to see such a big guy. Is Master trying to kill me? Little Black's body size suddenly grew several times larger. Then it opened its mouth and bit at the jellyfish. Then Han Fei saw an amazing scene. The supposedly powerful soul-attracting jellyfish was bitten off like jelly. Because Little Black was invisible, the soul-attracting jellyfish's attack was launched at nowhere, causing the seawater nearby to surge. In no more than 10 seconds, Little Black swam close with the soul resistance pearl in its mouth and rubbed Han Fei's arm affectionately. Han Fei took the soul resistance pearl, stuffed it into his mouth, and swallowed. This soul-attracting jellyfish was probably the most tragic one in history. She didn't know what happened, but she was swallowed by Little Black like it was jelly. Seizing the opportunity, Han Fei quickly swam over and collected another 2 soul resistance pearls in no time. At this moment, Little Black was biting a soul-attracting jellyfish. Han Fei shouted, "Little Black, don't kill it. Just cripple it. This one doesn't need a pearl. I need it." After the soul-attracting jellyfish was half crippled, Han Fei ran to it unhurriedly and smiled at the larger jellyfish. "Do you know what a natural enemy is now?" At this moment, the soul-attracting jellyfish's mental attack fell on Han Fei. However, Han Fei was fine except for slight discomfort and a slight headache. Han Fei even had mixed feelings. The soul resistance pearls are really good stuff. I wonder if I can become stronger after eating a few more. Then he took out another soul resistance bead and threw it into his mouth. The cool bead was quickly refined by his spiritual energy as soon as it entered his body. When the soul-attracting jellyfish attacked again, Han Fei only felt that his body trembled, and it was over. Han Fei's eyes glittered. "Not bad. I can resist the soul-attracting jellyfish's mental attack after eating 2 pearls. That's definitely worth it." The soul-attracting jellyfish was stunned too. If it could talk, it would have cursed, "You're cheating? Come back." The calabash appeared in Han Fei's hand, and the half-crippled soul-attracting jellyfish was immediately stored in it, becoming friends with the dragon eel and the others. Cell phone website. Chapter 201. Instead of harvesting the soul-attracting jellyfish, Han Fei quickly turned back and searched for Xia Xiaochan. Then he hurried back to Zhang Xuanyu. On his way back, Xia Xiaochan suddenly appeared next to Han Fei, only 1,000 meters away from Zhang Xuanyu. He was so startled that he almost slashed at her. Han Fei was lost for words. "Are you trying to scare me? Where have you been?" Xia Xiaochan looked at Han Fei weirdly. "I went to hunt this soul-attracting jellyfish. Where have you been?" As she spoke, Xia Xiaochan held a soul resistance pearl in her hand while staring at Han Fei. Han Fei raised his hand awkwardly. "Wow, what a coincidence. I accidentally killed a soul-attracting jellyfish just now. We're really fated to meet." Xia Xiaochan squinted at Han Fei. "Really?" Han Fei nodded. "Of course." Han Fei's heart trembled. Has this girl been following me all this time? To be honest, if Xia Xiaochan had been following me, I wouldn't have been able to discover her. If she saw the scene of him asking Little Black to make a move, would her eyes pop out? Also, I just used the demon purification pot to collect the demon. Did she see that? Han Fei was about to speak when Xia Xiaochan slipped and landed next to Luo Xiaobai, whose face was pale. At this moment, Luren Kuang had woken up and was rubbing his head in a daze. He didn't know anything just now. Anyway, when he woke up, he knew that he had eaten a soul resistance pearl. It felt so good. He always felt that he had one without doing anything. Xia Xiaochan handed out the soul resistance pearl and said, "Xiaobai, eat this first." Luo Xiaobai asked, "What about you?" Xia Xiaochan said casually, "I'll go hunting later. There are so many soul-attracting jellyfish here. They are all ours. Nobody is competing with us." Zhang Xuanyu held the vine and breathed heavily. "How about resting for 2 hours? My spiritual power is exhausted. I'm a little tired." Han Fei threw the soul resistance pearl in his hand to Zhang Xuanyu. "Here, although your spiritual power is strong, we need you to be stronger. You can have this one first." Zhang Xuanyu was shocked. "Didn't you go to find Xia Xiaochan? Why did you kill one too?" Han Fei gloated. "Of course. Did you forget my million-knife art?" Zhang Xuanyu thought, "I didn't forget. But even if you know the million-knife art, can you withstand so many spiritual shocks in a row?" Although Zhang Xuanyu was still puzzled, he didn't hold back at all. He caught the soul resistance pearl and stuffed it directly into his mouth. Then he sighed and said, "Later, I'll lead you to sweep through this area of water. The soul resistance pearls are all ours." Han Fei smiled and sat down next to Luren Kuang, indicating that he was ready to win without doing anything. Then he took out a deck of fish dragon cards. "Let's play cards, everyone." Even Luren Kuang was stunned. "Brother, we're exploring a dangerous place. What do you mean by playing cards? Didn't Zhang Xuanyu say that he would rest for 2 hours? Let's play cards." Zhang Xuanyu immediately sat down. "I like this." After a while, the place became lively. Although Luo Xiaobai was interested in playing cards, she always felt that it would distract her. Most of the time, he just played cards with Xia Xiaochan in his spare time. At this moment, he just sat next to Xia Xiaochan and gave her advice. Han Fei said, "Call the landlord." Zhang Xuanyu said, "Rob the landlord." Xia Xiaochan shouted, "Rob the landlord." Xia Xiaochan became the landlord, and they played cards happily, completely forgetting their purpose of coming here. At the bottom of the sea, 4 or 5 kilometers away, Wenren Yu's face was black. "You guys are a bunch of weirdos. You're the only one who came to the dangerous place of the level 2 fishery from the town to play cards. For thousands of years, I'm afraid no one can compare with you." 2 hours later, Xia Xiaochan raised her hand. "Zhang Xuanyu owes me 10,000 mid-quality pearls. Luren Kuang owes me 6,000, and Han Fei owes me 12,000. Pay me when we return to the town." Han Fei threw down the bad cards in his hand. "Xia Xiaochan, let me tell you, when I conceived the Fish Dragon cards game, I made it clear. People who play cards can't gamble. Even if there is, it can't be more than one low-quality pearl." Xia Xiaochan glared at Han Fei. "Don't deny your loss. You lost to me in the game you invented, and you still want to deny it?" Zhang Xuanyu muttered, "This is not fair. Xiaobai has been helping you the whole time. If you played alone, you would have lost." Luren Kuang scratched his head. "Well, it's so hurtful to talk about money. Should we go play the soul-attracting jellyfish?" Zhang Xuanyu and Han Fei looked at each other and quickly got up. Han Fei nodded. "Yes," Luren Kuang reminded us. "What are we here for? Adventure, cultivation. What about you, Xia Xiaochan? Playing cards? What about you?" Xia Xiaochan was so angry that she pulled out her knife and stabbed it into Han Fei with a clink. Who the hell took out the fish dragon cards just now? Who was the one who lost to him? And now he was even lecturing her. How shameless. Han Fei blinked his eyes and dragged Zhang Xuanyu. "Run, run, or we'll lose money." Zhang Xuanyu nodded. "Of course. I understood your look just now." Zhang Xuanyu anxiously said to everyone, "Xiaobai, cooperate with me. Let them know what it means to enjoy the fruits of others' labor." Zhang Xuanyu dashed several kilometers away and pointed at a soul-attracting jellyfish, which was a little confused. Were there 5 tiny things floating over? Get them shot? Zhang Xuanyu, who was at the front, didn't feel anything. His body trembled, and he endured it. Lu Renquang wanted to try the effect of the soul resistance pearl, but he also ran forward and took a hit. He covered his head. No, it hurts. I have to take another soul resistance pearl. After that, his armor box moved, and a large number of swords and sabers rushed out. Lu Renquang, who could resist the mental blast, was a great weapon against the jelly-like, soul-attracting jellyfish. Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. Quang, didn't you say that I would come? Lu Renquang grunted. You're too slow. Luo Xiaobai said, let me try the next one. A moment later, countless vines crushed a soul-attracting jellyfish, and Han Fei followed them and won. In less than half an hour, each of them had eaten 5 or 6 soul resistance pearls. However, everyone's enthusiasm didn't diminish, and they were still moving forward. During this period, they found a total of 3 spiritual fruits from the bottom of the water. They were not crimson sea fruits, but they must be similar. They all contained nearly 10,000 points of spiritual energy. 1 hour passed. Luo Xiaobai stopped them. Okay, stop killing. The soul resistance pearls are useless to us. Do you want to consider a second contractual spiritual beast? Except for Zhang Xuanyu, everyone shook their heads. Xia Xiaochan said in disdain, I don't want such a weak contractual spiritual beast. Zhang Xuanyu said, that depends on who uses it. It's very good for me. It can greatly strengthen my soul attack. It's simply perfect. Lu Renquang said leisurely, go ahead. I'll leave the second contractual spiritual beast to the level 3 fishery. Xia Xiaochan nodded. Me too. Luo Xiaobai handed the soul resistance pearl in her hand to Han Fei. I want to go to the deep sea jungle. There may be a suitable second contractual spiritual beast for me. Everyone shivered. The piercing electricity zone was the 4th most dangerous place, but the deep sea jungle ranked 2nd. Was it appropriate to go directly to the deep sea jungle after passing the stone forest? Han Fei was a little scared too. Why don't we search for spiritual fruits here first? Xia Xiaochan said, no need. The greatest benefit here is the soul resistance pearl of the soul-attracting jellyfish. Although each of us has eaten 5 or 6 and grabbed a few more in our hands, a soul resistance pearl is actually much more valuable than a spiritual fruit. Luo Xiaobai nodded. That's right. There are few things that can strengthen mental resistance or soul resistance. Ordinary people can't come down even if they know that there are soul-attracting jellyfish here. Even if they can, they have to resist the attacks of the soul-attracting jellyfish first. Han Fei nodded. Okay, it's up to you. Everyone looked at each other and smiled. The vines around them rose up and surrounded everyone. Then, the vines closed and once again formed a path from top to bottom. Luo Xiaobai said, let's go. The vines went all the way up and past the explosion zone of the blue hat jellyfish. Then, everyone experienced another round of electric shock. Fortunately, this time, Lu Renquang was already prepared. As a result, they were paralyzed by the electric shock and couldn't even speak. On the fishing boat, Zhang Xuanyu took a long breath. Shall we go to the stone forest first or the deep sea jungle? I personally suggest going to the stone forest first. There must be a reason why the stone forest ranks 3rd. If we can't even survive the stone forest, the deep sea jungle will be very dangerous. Lu Renquang agreed. Let's go to the stone forest one step at a time. Xia Xiaochan waved her dagger. It doesn't matter. Han Fei said, let's go one by one. If we go to all 4 places, I'm afraid we'll never come back. Luo Xiaobai nodded. Okay, let's go to the stone forest then. On the phone. Chapter 202. Zhang Xuanyu closed the fish-skin notebook and said, this is the place. Although many people have tried to mine the stones in the stone forest, the success rate is not high. Han Fei was speechless. Are you crazy? You came all the way here to dig stones? Zhang Xuanyu said, don't be hasty. I'm not done yet. It said that someone once found a rock-holding turtle in the stone forest, but I don't know if the news is reliable. Rock-holding turtle? Han Fei and the others were all surprised. Zhang Xuanyu nodded. Yes, the rock-holding turtle that people often talk about but can't find. Lu Kwang was immediately interested. Then we can have a try. If we really find a rock-holding turtle and it becomes my contractual spiritual beast, it will be awesome. I will instantly become the best armorist in the Blue Sea town. Xia Xiaochan kicked Lu Kwang and said disdainfully, in your dreams, not everyone who has a rock-holding turtle can become the best armorist. It depends on the combat skills on the back of the rock-holding turtle. It said that some are good and some are mediocre. It all depends on luck. Lu Kwang didn't care. It's good enough to get a rock-holding turtle. No one in the entire Blue Sea town has ever obtained a rock-holding turtle. If I get one, I'll take it no matter how good it is. Han Fei patted Lu Kwang's shoulder. Okay, don't be a loser. No one has ever seen that thing. I'll give it to you when we find it. I don't care. Don't forget that this place is even more dangerous than the piercing electricity zone. No matter how strong the stone spirit crabs are, they can't be stronger than the soul-attracting jellyfish, can they? I don't believe that these stone spirit crabs can kill all the great fishing masters who come to explore here. I think there must be treasures down there. Zhang Xuanyu smiled. Yes, I agree. I think there must be a secret. Maybe it's a treasure. Xia Xiaochan rolled her eyes. All you know is treasure. Let's go down first. Luo Xiaobai said, be careful. We suffered losses in the piercing electricity zone. Try to avoid some new sea creatures here. Everybody was about to jump into the water when Han Fei suddenly said, shall we have a hot pot before we go down? Xia Xiaochan was about to jump, but she held back and looked at Han Fei bitterly. Couldn't you have told me earlier? Lu Kwang rubbed his hands and chuckled. Of course. I'm starving. Luo Xiaobai also nodded slightly. The continuous exploration was somewhat unbearable. The piercing electricity zone was still fine. After all, jellyfish were very slow creatures. However, the piercing electricity zone was even weirder. It would be better to wait for a while. Han Fei took out the hot pot from his sea-swallowing seashell, as well as the grill and seasoning. Fatty, do you know how to grill squid? I picked up a lot of squid tentacles a few days ago. One is enough for the 5 of us to eat. Lu Kwang shook his head. No, I'll make the hot pot. You can roast squid tentacles. Wenren was the one who was most speechless about this group of people. In the past month, she had seen them eat hot pot countless times. However, as the protector, he would not appear unless it was necessary, even when it was time to eat. This was so that they could rely on themselves in times of trouble. But who could stand watching others eat hot pot every day? Half an hour later, Han Fei and the others had jumped into the water, and Wenren appeared on Han Fei's fishing boat. There were some vegetables left in the pot and a few kilograms of shredded grilled squid on the grill. She grunted and grabbed the barbecue to eat. As for the remaining hot pot in the pot, she couldn't eat it. She couldn't eat the leftovers of a group of little ghosts, right? As soon as they entered the water, a lot of strip fish and bony spur fish surrounded them, but they were strangled by Luo Xiaobai and Lu Kwang, leaving a pile of minced meat. Lu Kwang said to her via voice transmission, it's not good for us to leave the leftover hot pot for teacher, right? Why don't we ask teacher to come on board and eat together? Xia Xiaochan scoffed. Are you stupid? If he wants to come, he would have come a long time ago. Luo Xiaobai added, teacher doesn't want to interfere with our experience unless we are in danger. Teacher won't help us unless we are on the verge of death. So we can't slack off. Han Fei didn't discuss with them, but looked around. Have you found that this water is a bit dark? Zhang Xuanyu shook his head. No, it's not as dark as the deep-sea jungle. The bottom of the sea is dark, and the deep-sea jungle is densely covered with all kinds of spiritual plants. God knows how many weird creatures are hiding there. They dove all the way down, and along the way, they met everything they wanted to meet. In the level 2 fishery, in addition to strip fish and bony spur fish, there were even pearl fish, dragon-headed fish, squid, big-headed shrimp. Xia Xiaochan wondered, didn't you say it was dangerous? Why are there so many ordinary fish? There's nothing in the piercing electricity water. Zhang Xuanyu responded with a smile. Which fish can withstand the electricity of those piercing electricity jellyfish? Not to mention the blue hat jellyfish. In ordinary waters, it can kill a lot of fish with a single explosion. They had been diving. They didn't know if the dangerous places were particularly deep. They dived 500 meters before they saw the array-like outline at the bottom of the water. Luo Xiaobai said, "Attention, we're about to reach the bottom. Dive a little and see what's below." After a while, they saw it. Stone forest creepy land? They didn't know why it was called this until now. There were stone walls dozens of meters high, standing on the bottom of the sea. Between the stone walls, it was very dark, and they couldn't see clearly what was inside. Luren Kwong swallowed. Can't there be a more normal place on the bottom of the sea? This place looks very strange. Han Fei said, "A maze. These stone walls stretch for God knows how many kilometers, and the stone walls are not connected. There are gaps. This is more difficult than a connected maze." A maze? Zhang Xuanyu was helpless. Which idiot made such a big maze in this damn place? Luo Xiaobai wondered. It looks like some kind of relic. Anyway, it can't be made by ordinary people. Ordinary people don't have this ability. Without saying a word, Xia Xiaochan took out a fishing rod and cast it directly to the surface of the sea. After a few seconds, a strip fish was hooked over and Xia Xiaochan threw it into the gap of the stone wall with the hook. Buzz, in the blink of an eye, 5 or 6 white water arrows shot over the stone wall. When Xia Xiaochan retracted the fishing rod, she found that the hook was gone and the fishing line was broken. Han Fei asked, "Did you see anything?" Xia Xiaochan shook her head. "It happened too fast. I didn't see anything. Let me have a try." Han Fei also quickly hooked a bone spur fish from the upper water area and threw it into the stone wall. His perception range was larger than Xia Xiaochan's. At the moment when the bone spur fish entered the gap of the stone wall, Han Fei saw water arrows shooting around, and he quickly controlled the fishing line to avoid the water arrows. A crab? Han Fei saw clearly what that thing looked like. It was a crab with a stone on its head. Han Fei immediately retracted the fishing rod, but when the fishing rod was pulled over the stone wall, suddenly an irresistible force directly tore the fishing line, and the fish fell into the gap of the stone wall with the hook. Everyone looked at Han Fei, who said with a strange look, "A crab that can shoot arrows, and there seems to be a seal here." Luo Xiaobai explained, "It's a water arrow crab, a rare spiritual crab, but very few people have awakened this kind of crab. There are many treasure lands with seals. Don't make a fuss about it." Han Fei nodded. "Also, if we go down now, we may not be able to come up. I just tried it. It wasn't the water arrow crab that cut my fishing line, but when the hook was about to come out, it was directly cut by the seal." Wow! Everyone was taken aback and looked at Han Fei in astonishment. Luo Xiaobai pondered for a moment. "So, if we go in and try to come out directly, we may be obliterated." Zhang Xuanyu was suddenly enlightened. "That's right. So, few people who went to mine stones in the past could come back alive. In other words, we'll either be obliterated or we'll be killing ourselves." Xia Xiaochan nodded. "It must be because we can't breathe," Lu Run Kwong muttered. "Then why are we still going in? The stone forest is so big. We can get out if we go in. What if we get lost?" Han Fei and Zhang Xuanyu looked at each other and said at the same time, "Let's go in." Luo Xiaobai said, "Don't be impulsive." Han Fei said, "It's not impulsive. The purpose of a maze is to make people lose their way." Zhang Xuanyu followed. "Since the purpose is to make people lose their way, there must be something that they don't want people to find or treasure." Han Fei continued, "Yes. Besides, don't forget that this is the level 2 fishery. To put it bluntly, since Ms. Wunren dared to let us come here, she either has confidence in us or is not afraid of this maze. At least, in the case of Xiaobai, we don't have to worry about breathing." Zhang Xuanyu cooperated. "Besides, if we can't even get out of maze, what if there's a place more dangerous than the stone forest in the future? Don't go. You know, even ordinary fisheries have many dangerous places. In the future, what we will encounter will only be more dangerous than now." With that, Zhang Xuanyu and Han Fei raised their hands at the same time and clapped again. The two of them could go to a comedy show. Cell phone site. Chapter 203. Obviously, everyone was persuaded, but Luo Xiaobai was still cautious. She waved her hand, and a thin vine wrapped around the waists of the 5 people, ensuring that they wouldn't be separated after they entered. Han Fei said, "I'll lead the way. Follow me." As Han Fei dove, everyone followed him. As soon as they entered the gap of the stone wall, 7 or 8 water arrows came at them again. Han Fei instantly took out his blue sea wandering dragon daggers, and 7 or 8 cold lights darted out, piercing through the water arrow crabs. No matter how powerful the water arrow crabs were, they were just rare spiritual crabs in the level 2 fishery. However, the blue sea wandering dragon daggers were real spiritual weapons. Although they were not as spiritual as the legendary spiritual weapons, it was still very easy for them to kill a common rare creature with their strength and sharpness. The moment they landed, Luo Xiaobai waved a vine and slashed upward. In an instant, the vine was cut into 2 pieces. Xia Xiaochan playfully grabbed a dead water arrow crab and threw it into the sky, which was also cut into 2 halves. It seems that we can't go out from the top. What I'm curious about is, there are so many water arrow crabs here. Where are the stone spirit crabs? Luo Xiaobai extended her hand, and the vines began to search around the wall, as if she were detecting something. Han Fei said, "Stop searching. The stone spirit crabs are down there. Look." Han Fei pointed to the hole at the bottom of the wall, where 5 or 6 big crabs were crouching along the wall. They looked no different from stones. Zhang Xuanyu tapped the back shell of the stone spirit crab with a stick, and the big crab's eyes widened. Then it quickly closed and continued to pretend to be a stone. Everyone, Lurenquang, was amused. "Why did you knock them? It was originally fine, but now that you've knocked on it, what if they all come out to clamp on you?" Zhang Xuanyu said lazily, "Stupid. Not every creature in the ocean is aggressive. It seems that the stone spirit crabs are the laziest crabs. They hide in stones and don't move at all. Perhaps because of this, after a long time, the stones that the stone spirit crabs live in will become the best weapons because of the spiritual aura." Lurenquang scratched his head. "TSK, TSK. Are there really such stupid crabs? So, the stones that others want to dig out are the stones at the bottom?" Lurenquang found a dagger from the armor box and knocked it on the stone under the stone wall, making a crisp sound, but there was not even a mark on the stone. Lurenquang was overjoyed. "Good stone. Let's dig." Hey, don't go." The few of them revealed looks of disdain. "Did we ask you to come down just to let you dig stones?" Luo Xiaobai said, "If it's a regular maze, we can always find the exit as long as we walk along one side. However, the stone walls here are all broken." Han Fei summoned Little Black and Little White, touched Little White's head, and said, Little White, can you feel anything different here? Are there any treasures, spirit fruits, or something?" Seeing Han Fei summon Little White, everyone remembered that Little White's abilities were extraordinary. Since he could find exotic creatures, couldn't he find other treasures too? Little White was confused. It spun around on the spot for a long time, wanting to go left and right. Xia Xiaochan guessed, "Are there good things in both directions?" Han Fei touched Little White's head. "Let's find the best ones. We don't want anything bad." After that, Little White began to lead the way. Xia Xiaochan was shocked. "Why is Little White so smart? How can you find such treasures? Doesn't it mean that you can find any treasures in the future?" Zhang Xuanyu said enviously, "Great. This is a treasure hunting spirit swallowing fish, right? This spiritual beast can definitely rank in the top 5 in the Blue Sea town, right?" Lurenquang also said enviously, "Not just that. How many spiritual beasts have you seen that are good at treasure hunting? In terms of treasure hunting, I'm afraid this is the only one in the Blue Sea town." Swish, swish, swish. Before they walked 10 meters, a group of water arrows sprayed out. Different from the stone spirit crab, the water arrow crab was not big, but aggressive. It lay on the stone wall and sprayed randomly. Before Han Fei took action, Lurenquang and Zhang Xuanyu, who had nothing to do, killed them in minutes. Half an hour later, everyone was stunned. Little White led the way in a roundabout way. The 5 of them turned left, right, forward, backward. Another hour passed, and Little White was completely bewildered. Han Fei didn't know whether Little White was confused or not, but he was. Zhang Xuanyu said helplessly, Little white. Have you found it? You're not lost, are you? Xia Xiaochan nodded. If you're good, go ahead. Zhang Xuanyu shrugged. I can't. Shit. Zhang Xuanyu roared, and the rod in his hand rolled up a raging wave and stabbed to the side crazily. Looking at the source of the sound, he saw a huge water arrow shooting at him. The arrowhead alone was several meters long. Bam! Zhang Xuanyu was knocked back 7 or 8 steps by the water arrow. His face flushed. He was at a disadvantage. But when Zhang Xuanyu retreated, another water arrow came from the opposite side. This time, it was even stronger, and the seawater in the cracks on the wall formed a whirlpool. Lu Renkuang patted his armor box. Shield armor, BM, the wave shattered the stone spirit crabs under the wall, and one of Lu Renkuang's big shields was directly broken. Han Fei supported Lu Renkuang and said with a slightly changed expression, "It's very strong." Is it a mutant water arrow crab? Luo Xiaobai said, "No, the water arrow crab can't be so strong. It's a water arrow turtle. That's an exotic creature, much stronger than the soul-attracting jellyfish." Han Fei was surprised. Stronger than the soul-attracting jellyfish? Luo Xiaobai nodded. Soul attacks are useless against it. This kind of turtle that has lived for countless years has a very strong spiritual power. As they talked, another huge water arrow was shot at them. This time, Han Fei stood in front and shouted, "Rod, come." A rod shot out of Lu Renkuang's armor box. Han Fei shook his hand, and the rod, like a spear, suddenly stabbed at the tip of the arrow. Bam! The rod was bent, and the water arrow exploded. Han Fei stepped back several steps, and everybody's heart tightened. Xia Xiaochan had already disappeared, and Zhang Xuanyu summoned the bloodthirsty shark. Lu Renkuang launched a frenzied knife, but in the water, he could only fly slowly. At this time, there were no longer big water arrows on the opposite side, but thousands of fine water arrows shooting straight at them. Luo Xiaobai waved her hand, and layers of vines blocked in front of everyone. But even so, the vines were still penetrated. Lu Renkuang shouted, "Armor." Han Fei shouted, "Water shield." When the vines were shot into a plug, the remaining water arrows hit the water shield. The water shield was about to break, but the fine water arrows showed no sign of stopping, which showed how powerful their attack power was. 7-layered waves in furiously. Zhang Xuanyu stood on the waves at the bottom of the water, rolling up one wave after another, holding a rod in his hand and rushing straight out. Zhang Xuanyu was very fierce when fighting. There were at least hundreds and thousands of water arrows, and they were blasted 30 meters away by his attack. Taking advantage of the piece 30 meters ahead, everyone rushed forward. At the same time, a huge vine more than 30 meters high slapped down from the air, and another round was won. At this moment, everyone had surpassed Lu Renkuang's knife. Han Fei looked at Frenzied Knife and was lost for words. Lu Renkuang, can you optimize your combat skill? Don't wait until the battle is over, but your knife hasn't arrived yet. Don't you think it's embarrassing? Zhang Xuanyu nodded. I've been meaning to say that. It's too slow. You're flying so slowly. Lu Renkuang was lost for words. I want to be fast too. It takes time for Frenzied Knife to charge up. Luo Xiaobai said, let's wait. Xiaochan must have gone around from above. We have to hurry. So, they immediately surpassed Lu Renkuang's knife and moved forward quickly. After a few seconds, they saw a big turtle the size of a hill, with strange rocks on its shell. Han Fei glanced at it. Name Water Arrow Turtle Introduction. This is a water arrow turtle that has lived for more than 900 years. It has been living here for a long time and has extremely strong attack and defense power. Because it doesn't see the sun all year round, it has been nourished with a water-repellent pill. Level 39, quality, exotic, spiritual energy greater than 5,640 points. Effect, it can strengthen the body, expand the meridians, and prolong life. Collectible water-repellent pearl, absorbable cell phone station. Chapter 204. Everybody was shocked when they saw the water arrow tortoise. It was like a small mountain. There were strange stones on the back of the ancient tortoise shell, and all kinds of mysterious engravings. Clink! Xiao Xiaochan appeared below the water arrow tortoise's neck and launched the supreme stab upward. The stab was so cold and powerful that Han Fei felt that it could stab into his flesh. However, as the water arrow tortoise roared, Xiao Xiaochan was flung away. Han Fei rushed forward because he saw that the water arrow tortoise was about to launch another water arrow. Han Fei caught Xiao Xiaochan and threw her to Luo Xiaobai. At the same time, spiritual energy surged out of the long rod in his hand. In the blink of an eye, he blocked the arrow. Crack! Crack! However, to Han Fei's shock, the long rod in his hand broke inch by inch. Seeing that it was only a few inches away from his hand, Han Fei hurried to cover his body with a spiritual energy protective cover. After an explosion, Han Fei was blown away like a cannonball and hit a stone wall. The huge impact actually knocked down the stone wall with a loud bang. The stone spirit crabs in the corner didn't even have time to react before they were crushed by the blast. Vomiting a mouthful of blood, Han Fei felt that he had been hit by a mountain, and the blood in his body was surging. At the same time, he felt that his bones were about to be broken. Everybody quickly came to Han Fei's side with shock on their faces. They all knew how strong Han Fei's body was, but he was so miserable under the close-range attack of the water arrow tortoise. Han Fei struggled to his feet. Who can tell me what kind of species the water arrow tortoise is? Why is it so strong? Han Fei thought of the hexagon starfish and was horrified. The big turtle before him gave him the same feeling as the hexagon starfish. At least, the hexagon starfish didn't beat people randomly. But this thing had already started attacking when they were still far away. More importantly, they couldn't resist it. Luo Xiaobai's face slightly changed. Wait, something is wrong with this water arrow tortoise. It can't be so strong. Han Fei asked, what if it's close to level 40? Xiao Xiaochan nodded. That's possible. A level 40 giant tortoise is much stronger than regular dangling fishers. I'm afraid we can't defeat it. Luo Xiaobai said, if he's a dangling fisher, he might have a chance. However, this water arrow turtle has exceeded our expectations. It shouldn't have appeared in the level 2 fishery at all. Luren Kuang shivered. See, I told you. How could the third most dangerous place be safe? Everyone discussed as they retreated. It was indeed difficult to take it head-on, so he decided to retreat first. There was no need to fight at all, and no one was stupid. Xiao Xiaochan's all-out attack didn't shake the water arrow turtle at all. Han Fei attacked with all his strength, but he was blasted away. At this moment, everyone looked at Lu Rinquang sympathetically. Once the knife is drawn, there will be blood. This time, you can vomit it yourself. Lu Rinquang almost burst into tears. How could he have known that the opponent would be so strong? However, there was no way to retract the saber now. Everyone stared at the direction Madblade had flown off in. Immediately after, a huge water arrow bombarded the saber. Bang! Lu Rinquang sat on the ground, his face extremely pale. However, to everyone's surprise, the saber was still flying and continuing to advance. Zhang Xuanyu was shocked. Kuang, I couldn't tell. Your Madblade seems to be stronger. Lu Rinquang said bitterly, no, I can't hold on any longer. A second water arrow came and knocked away Lu Rinquang's saber. Instantly, Lu Rinquang vomited blood and was exhausted. Han Fei had already prepared the divine healing technique. He waved it on Lu Rinquang's head and said unhurriedly, no, this water arrow turtle is too strong. Let's search somewhere else first. Luo Xiaobai nodded. I agree. Thankfully, it can't move, or we wouldn't be able to defeat it. Everybody was rather frustrated. This was only the level 2 fishery. If they couldn't even defeat the level 2 fishery, what would they do in a level 3 fishery? Of course, if their thoughts were known by other people, they would definitely be cursed. Why are you pretending? How many people in the Blue Sea town dare to come to the 4 forbidden areas? Yes, if anyone could survive in the piercing electricity zone, those who survived in the stone forest were completely lucky. As for the first 2, almost none of them made it out alive. They had just moved 1,000 meters away. Suddenly, an amazing thing happened. The stone wall around them began to move. Luo Xiaobai's face changed greatly. Run. The stone wall is closing. Han Fei looked back at the water arrow turtle. What did it mean? Did the wall move after they attacked it? However, there was no time to think about it at this moment. Everybody ran as fast as they could while the wall wasn't closed. As the group turned here and there, they passed through countless cracks before the wall slowly stopped moving. However, everybody was shocked after the wall moved this time. The path in the gap of the stone wall was flat, and there was nothing except for the water arrow crabs and the stone spirit crabs. But things were different now. Following the movement of the stone wall, countless skeletons appeared on the ground, almost reaching the point where they were everywhere. It was simply horrifying. Gudu. Luren Kuang's eyes widened. So many people are dead. Zhang Xuanyu crouched and searched among the bones. He found fishing poles, daggers, and deformed swords and knives. Luo Xiaobai said, "It's an array. This entire area of stone walls is an enormous array." Zhang Xuanyu heaved a long sigh. "Anyway, we're lost now. In this damn array, we can't tell north from south at all. Now we can only count on Little White." Han Fei asked in confusion, "Why do you think the teacher let us go when he knew that we couldn't beat it? Although we couldn't beat it, the water arrow turtle couldn't do anything to us either. I think we have to find the answer ourselves." Han Fei nodded and touched Little White's head. "Good boy, keep looking. Let's not look for the big turtle just now. Let's find something else this time." Little White didn't mind. Fish didn't choose directions by force, but by magnetic fields. Besides, Little White was not an ordinary fish. It was particularly sensitive to spiritual energy. In this stone wall maze where bones were everywhere and the spiritual energy was somewhat dry, it wasn't difficult to find a place where spiritual energy gathered. It was just that the search this time was much more troublesome than the previous one. They didn't know how far they walked in the maze. It took them half a day. Along the way, there were bones everywhere, and not a single treasure was found. As they walked, they suddenly came to an open space. Then he saw another giant tortoise. This turtle was black and covered in black armor. It was taking a nap in its shell. Name Stone Spirit Turtle Introduction. This is a stone spirit turtle that has lived for more than 900 years. It lives by breathing spiritual energy and has a strong defense ability. It is lazy and spends most of its time in hibernation. Because it doesn't see the sun all year round, it has been nourished with a water avoidance pill. After wearing it, it can stay underwater all the time. Level 39, quality, exotic, spiritual energy greater than 5,555 points. Effect, it can strengthen the body, expand the meridians, and prolong life. Collectible water avoidance pearl, absorbable, everyone was stunned. Another one? Also, its attributes were basically the same as the water arrow turtles, except that the water arrow turtle was more aggressive, and this turtle seemed to be sleeping. Moreover, its attributes were basically the same as the water arrow tortoise, except that the water arrow tortoise was more aggressive, while this tortoise seemed to be sleeping. Luren Kuang's voice shivered. "Is it asleep?" Zhang Xuanyu was lost for words. "Seriously? Is this a place for raising turtles? This one is probably no weaker than the water arrow turtle. Fortunately, it's asleep, or we would have been beaten again." Luo Xiaobai said, "Don't wake it up. Let's wait and see." Just now, the water arrow turtle was too fierce for them to approach. But this stone spirit turtle was taking a nap, which gave them enough time to observe it. Xia Xiaochan ran around the stone spirit turtle in delight and said telepathically, "It's more than 20 meters long." Xia Xiaochan ran around the stone spirit turtle in delight and said telepathically, "It's more than 20 meters long." Everyone gathered around. After a moment of silence, Han Fei said, "It's an array." Everyone gathered around. After a moment of silence, Han Fei said, "It's an array." Zhang Xuanyu asked, "So what's this array for?" Luren Kuang said, "To trap these two turtles, of course. What else can it be used for?" Han Fei asked, "Why do you want to trap these two turtles?" Cell phone website. Chapter 205. Everyone searched around the stone spirit turtle, But there was nothing except this turtle. Clang, clang, clang. Han Fei suddenly knocked on the turtle shell, making the sound of metal colliding. In an instant, Lu Renquang and Zhang Xuanyu ran dozens of meters away. Xia Xiaochan turned invisible, and Luo Xiaobai quickly retreated. Zhang Xuanyu was shocked. Han Fei, are you crazy? What if you wake it up? Lu Renquang complained. Han Fei, let's stop knocking. We can still study it. Han Fei was speechless. Study it? Look at how it's sleeping. It's been sleeping for hundreds of years. Feel it carefully. It's breathing spiritual energy even when sleeping. With that said, Han Fei continued to knock. He was also studying where the rugged stones on this turtle came from. They were quite hard. He wondered if he could knock some of them off to make weapons. Clang, clang, clang. Han Fei knocked off a stone, which felt a little heavy. He didn't know what kind of stone it was, but he threw it into Forge the Universe first. Then Han Fei ran to the turtle's head. There was a smaller stone on the turtle's shell here, which looked a little better than the stones on the turtle's body. Just when Han Fei was about to knock this stone off, he saw a head slowly sticking out of the turtle's shell. Human, don't disturb my sleep. Shoot! Han Fei jumped back a few meters. That scared the hell out of me. This turtle can talk? Not only Han Fei, but Zhang Xuanyu and the others also shivered and quickly took a few steps back. Luo Xiaobai's face changed greatly. Han Fei, come back. This may be a turtle. Xia Xiaochan curiously stuck out her head and stared at the big turtle. Han Fei coughed. Cough, cough. Well, hey. The stone spirit turtle fully stuck out its head and said feebly, Humans, let's go. I'm going to sleep. Everyone, Zhang Xuanyu said leisurely. This turtle seems a little tired. Han Fei rolled his eyes. Well, Master Turtle, what are you doing? Why are you lying here? Han Fei had seen the hexagon starfish before, so he only panicked at the beginning and then calmed down. Now that the stone spirit turtle was lazy, Han Fei felt that it might be comparable to the stone spirit crab. The stone spirit crab hid in the corner and pretended to be a rock, while the stone spirit turtle lay here and slept. It made sense. The stone spirit turtle said slowly, Lie on your stomach and sleep. Han Fei was lost for words. Mr. Turtle, you can sleep anywhere. Why are you sleeping here? The stone spirit turtle said lazily, How would I know? I fell asleep, and when I woke up, I was here. Anyway, it's just changing a place to sleep. It doesn't matter. Everyone, Han Fei carefully leaned forward and sat in front of the turtle's head. Mr. Turtle, do you know what this place is? We just met an Uncle Turtle on the other side, but it didn't seem very friendly. It kept shooting water arrows. The stone spirit turtle turned its head slowly and looked at Han Fei with its big eyes. Oh, it always disturbs my sleep. I don't want to move. I'm too lazy to care about it. Han Fei felt that he couldn't hold it anymore. You really are AF * King Tortoise, sleeping for nearly 1,000 years. Mr. Turtle, here's the thing. We're lost. Do you know how to get out of this place? The stone spirit turtle slowly straightened its head again. I don't know. I don't want to go out. When are you leaving? I'm going back to sleep. There's no hurry. You've been sleeping for hundreds of years. It's not bad to get up and stretch your muscles occasionally. Maybe you can make a breakthrough after you move a little. The stone spirit turtle wanted to shrink its head again and said slowly, Why should I make a breakthrough? I'll make a breakthrough when I sleep. Han Fei was speechless. Can't we just have a pleasant conversation? What do you mean you'll make a breakthrough when you sleep? You've been sleeping for nearly 1,000 years, and you're only level 39. Is it embarrassing? Han Fei tried to be patient. Mr. Turtle, look at the array under your feet. Let me tell you, someone has sealed you. If you move a little, you'll break the seal. In this way, you can find a comfortable place to sleep. For example, you can find a beautiful coral bush. When you wake up, you can see colorful corals. When you're hungry, as soon as you open your mouth, small fish will run into your stomach. Wouldn't it be more comfortable to sleep? The stone spirit turtle didn't shrink its head anymore. It glanced to Han Fei. I'm tempted, but I don't want to move. Can you move the corals to my side? Han Fei was speechless. Xia Xiaochan and the others were also speechless. How could there be such a turtle? You want me to move the corals to your side for you to sleep? Look at how beautiful you are. Seeing that there was hope, Han Fei struck while the iron was hot. Mr. Turtle, think about it. Just move a little and break the seal. We'll take you to a coral bush immediately. You don't know, there's a coral bush only a few thousand kilometers away from here. It's as beautiful as a fairyland. I saw a lot of turtles sleeping there. The stone spirit turtle was suspicious. Really? Han Fei patted his chest. Of course it's true. Let's not take the one next door that spits water arrows. It will disturb your sleep. Zhang Xuanyu and the others were speechless. Anyone with a bit of intelligence wouldn't believe it. How could there be so many turtles sleeping in the coral bush? But this stone spirit turtle believed it. The stone spirit turtle was suspicious. Can I move a little? Han Fei was overjoyed. Okay, move a little and climb out of the array on the ground first. The stone spirit turtle nodded. Then get out of the way. Han Fei hurriedly ran dozens of meters away and said expectantly, Mr. Turtle, the coral bush is waiting for you. You can eat fish, shrimp, and crabs as soon as you open your mouth. Occasionally, a female turtle will pass by. Maybe something indescribable will happen. Think about it. This is your motivation. Everyone looked at the sky, and Zhang Xuanyu looked at the stone wall. Lu Renquang fiddled with the armor box. Luo Xiaobai blushed, and Xia Xiaochan glared at Han Fei. The huge body of the stone spirit turtle moved. The moment it raised its limbs, the whole water surface suddenly surged, and the underground array flickered. Boom! As soon as the stone spirit turtle took a step, the earth shook, and the stone wall behind them began to move. The stone spirit turtle took 2 steps, and an invisible shield suddenly appeared in front of the stone spirit turtle. Bam! The stone spirit turtle took another step forward, and the spiritual energy shield began to shake. Han Fei was shocked. What kind of array is this? Isn't it too powerful? Can I learn it as a spirit gatherer? Although he was shocked, Han Fei was shouting, Mr. Turtle, you're only 1 step away from victory. Come on, oh yeah, BM. Bam! Bam! The entire stone forest was shaking violently. But Han Fei was very excited, which meant that a big event had been triggered. If the stone spirit turtle could really come out, would he be able to find the treasures in the stone forest? Suddenly, the stone spirit turtle lay down and said feebly, I can't go out. Forget it, I'm not going. Everyone, Han Fei was stunned. Don't. Mr. Turtle, you're only half a meter away from victory. You can't give up. The stone spirit turtle said unhurriedly, I remember now. It seems that a stick was stuck here before, and we can't go out until we pull that stick out. I don't want to move. I'm too tired. Han Fei frowned. Stick? What stick? Where is it? The stone spirit turtle said, I don't know. I seem to have hit a bit of it just now. Go and find it. Call me when you find it. You have to take me to the corals. Han Fei said righteously, no problem. I'll take care of it. Xiaobai, hurry up and find stick. It must be in a place with the most abundant spiritual energy. Luo Xiaobai's face was black. Didn't we agree to call it Xiaobai? Why did it become Xiaobai again? Han Fei, however, didn't care. He was very excited at this moment. 1 stick was suppressing 2 turtles. Not to brag, this was definitely a ridiculously awesome stick. This was definitely the treasure of the stone forest treacherous land. When Han Fei and the others looked back, the stone wall was surprisingly connected into lines and turned into channels. Han Fei was stunned. When did it change? Everyone had a dumbfounded look on their faces. They had only heard him bragging just now. Who knew when he had changed? Maybe it was when the stone spirit turtle hit the seal. Cell phone website. Chapter 206. In the outside world, Wenren Yu's face changed. When the stone forest shook, she instantly went from the surface to the bottom of the sea. Wenren Yu frowned. The reason why she didn't stop Han Fei and the others from exploring the stone forest was that this place was a maze. She knew that this was an ancient array set up by someone. But the point was that this array didn't hurt people. In the past, people died here because most of them were suffocated to death. Just then, someone came out of the stone forest treacherous land. But Luo Xiaobai had air. Plants wouldn't care where you were. As long as there was land, vines could grow. Even when they reached a certain level, they didn't need land. Therefore, Wenren felt that it was only a matter of time before Han Fei and the others came out. She was even prepared to laugh at them after they came out, to stop them from searching for treasures, and to tell them that not every place in this ocean had treasures. But now, the seal was shaking, and the entire stone forest was moving, which was completely different from what she had expected. Wenren frowned, and hundreds of sword grasses appeared around her and shot out horizontally, trying to break the seal on the stone forest. But she was too careless. The stone forest only allowed people below the dangling fisher realm to enter. She wanted to enter, but she couldn't. Bam! 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 Above the stone forest treacherous land, a layer of rippling boundary appeared. When the sword grass bombarded it, it only caused a few ripples. There wasn't even the slightest tremor. Damn it! Wenren swam above the stone forest, but this barrier seemed to have the ability to block her sight, and she couldn't see through it at all. At this time, Wenren remembered something that Old Bai once said. In terms of weirdness, the stone forest was comparable to the fiery mountain, and it was far stranger than the deep-sea jungle. Below, Han Fei and the others were moving forward along the passage. This time, there were almost no obstacles, and the road ahead was smooth. Everyone was very excited. Zhang Xuanyu said with a smile, Han Fei, why didn't I find that you were so good at bragging before? Lu Renkuang echoed, yes, I almost believed it. Han Fei rolled his eyes at them. What do you mean by bragging? I'm telling the truth. Isn't sleeping in the coral bushes better than sleeping in this stone forest? Zhang Xuanyu, that's true, but when it comes to your mouth, it's just boasting. He even wanted to find a female tortoise. Let me tell you, this tortoise can even speak, so it's definitely not an ordinary character. You want to see the second one? Difficult. Xia Xiaochan suddenly asked, do you think the water arrow turtle can talk? Luo Xiaobai shook her head. This black tortoise should be a special species, perhaps even more magical than exotic creatures. Han Fei thought to himself, I can't tell you that its name is Stone Spirit Turtle and it's only exotic. It might be a coincidence that he could speak. Wasn't it the same as the hexagon starfish he had met before? Although the hexagon starfish was a mysterious species, since it could speak, it meant that there were many other species in the sea that could speak. Therefore, he wasn't surprised that the stone spirit crab could speak. Everyone searched for a path and quickly moved forward. An hour later, they finally arrived. However, when everyone arrived, they found that there was only a bulging mound of earth. A stick full of stones was inserted into a big mound of earth. Luo Xiaobai frowned. Be careful. Look at the ground. There were complicated carvings on the ground, which were not obvious but very weird. Gulp. Lu Renkuang said in shock. Is this someone's grave? It can't be. Why do we always run into places where people are buried? Without saying anything, Zhang Xuanyu stepped forward. Grave? What grave? As long as this stick is pulled out. Zhang Xuanyu tried hard but failed to pull it out. He said awkwardly, don't panic. Let me try. Rise. Spiritual energy surged in Zhang Xuanyu's hands, and a huge force was exerted on the stick, causing the seawater around him to tremble, but the stick still didn't move. Lu Renkuang said straightforwardly, so, you just didn't pull out? Seeing that he seemed to be despised, Zhang Xuanyu said unhappily, you can do it. Lu Renkuang waved his hand. You can't. In terms of strength, only Han Fei and I can do it. It's easy for me to pull it out. Seeing that there was no danger, Lu Renkuang became bold. He threw away the armor box and began to pull out the stick. Rise. Zhang Xuanyu watched the show from the side. Wow, it's so easy. Lu Renkuang was so embarrassed that he immediately patted his armor box. Rampage. He sat on the ground with a thud, unable to pull the stick out. Instead, a piece of stone fell off the stick, revealing the dark body of the stick. Luo Xiaobai's eyes lit up. It trembled. Zhang Xuanyu said, okay, I just tried. This stick seems to be stuck by something, or it's a bit heavy. Don't you think about it? How can a rod that can suppress the stone forest sinister seal be simple? Han Fei rubbed his hands. Come on, let me try. Let's make it clear that the stick belongs to the one who wins. Lu Renkuang didn't care. I don't use a stick. You two can fight for it. Zhang Xuanyu said indifferently. No way. I've seen it. There must be another way to win. Han Fei stepped forward, not caring if there was another way. It was normal for men to compete with each other in strength. Since everyone else has pulled it out, it would be rude if I didn't. Han Fei gathered spiritual energy between his hands and rose. When Han Fei exerted his strength, the seawater around him surged, and the veins on his hands and neck bulged. After a while, there was no movement. Zhang Xuanyu said telepathically, "That's enough. This stick can't be pulled out. F***CK. Everybody was shocked to see that the stick seemed to be lifted a little. Xia Xiaochan said leisurely, "So you are not as strong as Han Fei." Han Fei thought of something and roared, "Attach." Then, the 7 chains behind him clasped the stone stick tightly. Rumble. The seawater was surging, the ground was shaking, and the walls were shaking slightly. Seeing that the stick was pulled out more, Han Fei roared again, "Rampage!" Rumble. A loud noise came from under his feet, and the ground trembled violently. Han Fei, however, staggered with the stick in his hand, his face flushed. Luo Xiaobai said, "Han Fei, get out of there." Beam. Han Fei fell to the ground, and his hands were barely able to move. Han Fei held his breath and said, "I want to leave too, but this stick is too heavy." Han Fei was shocked. In his full state, all kinds of strength were superimposed. In terms of strength, he was confident that he was stronger than regular dangling fishers. He had the enhancement of the indestructible body, but now, he couldn't even lift a stick? Holding the stick, Han Fei said, "Is this the golden cudgel?" There was no telling if it was intentional or not, but the mound under Han Fei's feet broke apart. Han Fei fell down together with the stick. Han Fei, shocked. Everybody hurried to go forward, but the vines that Luo Xiaobai tied Han Fei earlier were torn apart. The rumbling continued, and the ground was cracking and shaking. Everybody was pushed back by an invisible force the moment they approached Han Fei. But before they charged forward again, they saw that the mound was broken, and an enormous steel slowly rose from the ground. Then, cracks appeared under everybody's feet one after another, and the ground within 100 meters was almost completely shattered. Luren Kuang swallowed hard. "I feel something's down there," Xia Xiaochan said angrily. "Of course. Do I need you to feel anything? Even the turtle shell is coming out." Everybody was shocked. Was it a turtle down there? But wasn't the turtle too huge? Only a small part of the turtle shell was exposed, and it was already more than 30 meters in radius. Han Fei, suddenly, Zhang Xuanyu waved his hand in surprise. Everybody saw that Han Fei was sitting on the turtle shell next to the steel, holding the stick and blushing. Han Fei said telepathically, "I'm fine. I'm fine. Don't come any closer." Although Han Fei said that he was fine, he was actually quite panicked. The data in his eyes almost made him pee his pants. Rock-holding turtle natural spiritual turtles carry mysterious steels that are as heavy as mountains and engraved with patterns that cannot be seen by the naked eye. Chapter 207. When the rock-holding turtle completely broke out of the soil, not just Han Fei, but everyone else panicked. If the water arrow tortoise and the stone spirit tortoise were considered big fellows, then this rock-holding tortoise was a super giant tortoise. The tortoise shell was nearly 100 meters long. "Human, did you let me out?" The rock-holding turtle spoke. It wasn't just a voice transmission, but a voice. Although it spoke in the water, everyone could hear it clearly. "Gudu," Han Fei swallowed and said, "Hey, senior rock-holding turtle, how are you?" Han Fei really wanted to chop those people who spread false rumors. Didn't they say that someone had seen the rock-holding turtle? Didn't they say that someone had obtained an opportunity from the rock-holding turtle? Didn't they say they were all liars? Except for a brief introduction, all the information was filled with question marks. Han Fei hadn't seen many of them yet, except for the first time when he entered the water and saw the sea flood dragon. At that time, the sea flood dragon was more than 10 levels higher than him. He could at least tell the level and quality of the sea flood dragon. But this one couldn't see anything except for the introduction. More importantly, Even the demon purification pot couldn't absorb the spiritual energy of this turtle, which showed how terrifying it was. Needless to say, this rock-holding turtle was at least level 50 and couldn't be lower. Luo Xiaobai and the others were shocked to hear Han Fei's name. So this was a rock-holding turtle? But it didn't match the rumors. Zhang Xuanyu secretly said to Lu Renquang, "Your second contractual spiritual beast has appeared." Lu Renquang. Hardly had Zhang Xuanyu finished the voice transmission when the rock-holding turtle turned around and glanced at him, which made Zhang Xuanyu panic. The rock-holding turtle opened its mouth. "He can make a contract with me. The moment he makes the contract, he will explode and die." Zhang Xuanyu was shocked. What the hell? Could he even hear a voice transmission? What kind of rock-holding turtle was this? Those damn liars had seen a rock-holding turtle before? What the F***CK? Zhang Xuanyu said weakly, "Senior, I was just kidding." Han Fei was still sitting on the rock-holding turtle with the rod in his arms, stunned. The rock-holding turtle said, "I don't like that stick. It has suppressed me for too long." Han Fei raised his eyebrows and immediately threw the rod into Forge the Universe. But the moment he threw it, he felt incomparably obscure. At that moment, tens of thousands of points of spiritual energy were consumed. Han Fei smiled bitterly. "If you don't like it, you should have told me earlier. If you had told me earlier, I would have put away long ago. I don't know where this rod came from. If only it was the Jingu Bang. One for Monkey, one for me. Monkey King is called the Great Sage equaling heaven, and I am called the Great Sage who overturns the seas." Seeing that the stick was gone, the rock-holding turtle stomped on the ground and opened its mouth, shattering the stone wall in front of it in an instant. Zhang Xuanyu swore to himself, "In the future, I'll definitely kill that guy who spread rumors. People will die, you know." When the rock-holding turtle crawled out of the pit, the earth shook and the mountains shook. Monstrous waves were set off in the sea above the entire stone forest mystery land. On the surface of the sea, within a radius of several thousand li, it was covered in clouds and rain. At the same time, a beam of light shot into the sky. Then, it burst into the shape of a word. Everyone wanted to see it, but as soon as they saw it, they burst into tears. The light was so dazzling that ordinary people couldn't look at it directly. Many people in the level 2 fishery saw it and were very excited. Someone roared, "An amazing treasure has been born. Come on, come on. Opportunity, it's an opportunity." Some people who were fishing directly put away their fishing poles and drove their fishing boats forward at full speed. For a moment, the entire level 2 fishery went crazy. The dazzling light was seen by countless people, and they were all rushing to hunt for treasures. Under the water, Wenren Yu felt the unusual movement. She had been wandering here for a long time. The continuous tremors made her heart a little unbearable. If these 5 treasures died, the Thug Academy would really have no hope at all. At the moment when the rock-holding turtle was born, the water was enveloped in an extraordinary splendor. Wenren Yu appeared right above Han Fei and the others almost instantly. For some reason, the scene under the seal that she couldn't see clearly before was now transparent. Wenren Yu saw Han Fei sitting on a huge turtle, and Luo Xiaobai and the others were all looking at him stupidly. Wenren Yu said, "Han Fei," she shouted and attacked the seal with thousands of sword grasses around her. Wenren Yu was shocked. Carrying a steel? Is this the legendary rock-holding turtle? The rock-holding turtle slightly raised its head. "You can't come in. Wait for me for a moment." Wenren Yu raised her eyebrows. "It can talk. It's of a very high quality." In the next moment, the sword grasses were blocked by the seal, but the ripples became more intense, but they still couldn't be broken. Wenren Yu said, "Senior Rock, please don't hurt my disciples." The rock-holding turtle didn't respond. In fact, Wenren Yu's voice couldn't penetrate the seal. At this moment, the rock-holding turtle looked at Han Fei and the others and sighed. "I don't know whether it's fate or not, but since you released me, come on my back. You can leave after an hour of viewing the steel." Hearing this, everyone was shocked. They had already seen the big steel behind the rock-holding turtle. Han Fei was sitting in front of the steel and seemed to be fascinated. The other 4 looked at each other, and without saying a word, they immediately stepped forward. Not to mention whether or not the rock-holding turtle could kill them. Even if it wanted to, it could kill them with a breath. Didn't they see that the 1,000-meter-tall stone wall was blown to pieces by the rock-holding turtle? Han Fei was reading the stele at this moment, but because of the demon purification pot's reminder, he couldn't see it with the naked eye and had to read it with his mind. So at the beginning, he just glanced at it and found nothing on it. Then he just stared at the center of the stele without looking at it with his eyes. As he stared, the stele in his eyes turned into a black brick. It was like staring at a white wall for a long time, and everything else nearby would be hidden, leaving nothing but whiteness. Han Fei vaguely sensed something different. He seemed to see something moving on the stele, but it was very fuzzy. The more he concentrated, the more fuzzy the stele became. After a long time, the fuzzy picture in Han Fei's eyes suddenly became clearer. And Han Fei didn't seem to be on the back of the rock-holding turtle anymore, but in a chaotic ocean. He saw an extremely terrifying scene. There were waves hundreds of thousands of meters high, and there seemed to be only one terrifying wave left between the sky and the earth. There seemed to be a figure on the huge wave, but Han Fei couldn't see it clearly. In the overlapping waves, it was very fuzzy. Han Fei wasn't even sure if it was a person. But in the sky, he saw a person. This person was tens of thousands of meters high, reaching out and stabbing a stick straight down, as if he was going to stab into the wave. Han Fei saw that as the stick left his hand, it fell like a meteorite, rubbing against the atmosphere and causing dazzling sparks. A huge and intimidating air wave was ignited in the void. At the moment when the stick touched the seawater, Han Fei's breathing became rapid, his mind was shaking, and it became difficult for him to breathe. The huge wave was hit by the stick, leaving a huge semicircular pit. Turbulence surged in the pit. At this moment, even the air between heaven and earth seemed to be trembling. Han Fei's head was tingling, and he had a splitting headache. It was also at this moment that Han Fei's eyes changed. One black and one white. They seemed to be resisting this boundless pressure. At this moment, Han Fei woke up with a start. Even in the water, he still felt sweaty. Han Fei was instantly woken up, and there was a bloodthirsty impulse in his eyes. He didn't know when he had fused with Little Black and Little White. If there were any enemies around him at this moment, he would have killed them. But at this moment, Han Fei's eyes fell on the giant stele. In his yin-yang divine eyes, there seemed to be patterns on the giant stele. Upon a closer look, it turned out to be a strange painting. Han Fei didn't know what the painting was about, but this picture was deeply engraved in his mind. Yin-yang divine eyes? The rock-holding turtle was slightly surprised. At this moment, data appeared in Han Fei's eyes. God-scaring painting, venerable level, divine quality. Note, a painting that nurtures life. Daily visualization can consolidate the soul. Disadvantages: none deduced art. Unknown deduction cost. 100000000 cell phone site.